Welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Very good to see you guys. Bernie Sanders, the millionaires and billionaires. He was the first politician that Joe Rogan was willing to publicly say, yeah, I like this guy. And but a lot has changed since then. But Bernie was on JRE, what was that, yesterday, a couple days ago? And it was interesting. Shout out to Morty coming to join the party. We also got our boy Melted Mind Media. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Very good to see you. Let's jump right in, guys. As always, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
So if I say to you, all right, Joe, tell me what happened in the American Revolution, you go to the chat box, you give me a wonderful essay that you know nothing about, right?
Right.
What does that mean for your intellectual development?
So they spent, as you can see, we skipped ahead a little bit. They spent a lot of time just talking about like what AI can do, and I don't need to hear a boomer talk, or rather, a boomer and an elder Gen X talk about AI. Yeah, we can skip over that. But so now he's shifting into using all of that, the fact that AI is coming and it is here, of course, to bring it back to socialism. Shout out to Josie. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. And fuck the Burns. Bernie actually did okay on JRE. He did get exposed a few times, though, indeed. And we are here to check that out. Don't forget about our poll, guys. It reads, is Bernie more trustworthy than the typical politician? Yes or no? Let me know.
But all you can do is press a button and give me an answer.
Right. Unless you've absorbed that information.
Right. Unless you have.
Right.
But many kids are not. And we got to worry about that as well. So I think we have to take a deep breath. And many of the things, what has been the impact of all this stuff? How do we stop the negative impacts? How do we go forward with what is positive? Socialism. And it is not easy stuff, to be sure. But I just don't, what I worry about right now is I think artificial intelligence is going to displace millions and millions of workers. People are going to be thrown out on the streets. I think the corporate guys who are running these companies could care less about these workers. I think robotics is going to be running a lot of the factories in America. And I think these are issues we just have got to address in a bold way.
Now he acts as if like we didn't already know in 2016 that AI was going to be an issue. Remember, I mean, obviously it was 2020 when the Yang Gang was going around and saying that we're going to need UBI because of all of this AI stuff. So this is not new. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Bernie just found out about ChatGPT yesterday, but not new stuff.
Yes, but how do you do that? And like you're balancing it out in one way. If you are a corporation, like imagine you're an automobile manufacturing corporation, you're Ford. Ford is struggling right now. There's a giant issue with Ford, right? So what does Ford do if all of a sudden something comes along that allows them to be more productive? They're more profitable. These machines can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't need time off. And you're going to make a better product.
They don't get hurt. They don't have families. They don't complain.
Make more money for your shareholders. The corporation succeeds.
Right.
But you don't need X amount of workers anymore.
Right.
How do you mitigate this?
I mean, that's the right question. And
right. What do you do?
All right, nobody has a simple answer. Let's just talk about it. Does Ford simply
already a little defensive? Nobody said it was a simple answer. He's just asking you about it.
Corporate America have the right to say to workers throughout this country, hey, sorry, guys, we don't need you anymore. Have a nice life. You're out on the street.
Instead of thinking them as workers, should we think of them as, look, there are people that make
who have agency
decisions. There's the executives. There's the corporation itself. But without the people that worked on those assembly lines, you have nothing.
That's right.
You have nothing. You couldn't have done any of the things you've done without those people.
Right. And still people acknowledge and understand and agree with that statement and don't think that because you work on an assembly line for Amazon that you deserve all of Jeff Bezos's money. Not saying that Jeff Bezos is some amazing character. Just you didn't earn his wealth.
But those people are replaceable because it's skilled labor that you could teach another person to do, and they're replaceable because there's plenty of people that want those jobs and there's a demand. So you file them in, you file them out, which is why they developed unions, right? So they developed unions to keep people from being exploited.
Right.
And then the problem becomes the unions get exploited, and then the unions have a lot of money, and then there's a lot of influence, and then they decide, okay, fuck these unions, let's go to Mexico.
And Bernie's answer is, well, let's just make the government apparatus that we're talking about is corrupt. Let's just make it a little bit bigger, or not even a little bit, a lot bigger.
These laws that Ross Perot famously talked about, the giant sucking sound headed south.
I remember
that?
this.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember him well.
Boy, was he right.
Yeah.
Boy, was he right.
Mhm.
All right, let's get back to this issue of which.
What do you do? Like,
right.
if you're the president,
There ain't no easy answers. So let me throw that out.
That's the second time he's now said there's no easy answers. It makes me think that you don't have any answers. Josie said he's definitely behind about AI, about a solid 10 years. Andrew Yang ran on AI. One of his main things was universal income because of this upcoming issue. And now that he's gone back to, actually, I don't even know what he's doing. Now that he's not singing that song, Bernie's like, oh, well, this is what I could do to get support from the leftists that don't really know anything.
Out to you. I don't have a magical solution. I wish I did. I don't. I think the first thing you say, all right, I'm Ford, I'm General Motors, I got all this technology, I can produce my products much more efficiently. I don't need workers anymore, right?
Right.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. GM, and I'm sorry, Mr. Ford.
You can't make money because I said so.
Because this country is more than just your profits. We got human beings, and you're not going to throw people out on the street. Many of them will have a hard time getting health care, et cetera, et cetera. So let me
So just straight up communism. Okay, skip the middleman.
frame the question again, of which admittedly it is complicated. I don't have the magic answer.
Third time he's saying I don't have a magic answer.
How as a nation, forget Ford, forget General Motors, how as a nation do we deal with this exploding technology so that it benefits all of us and not just Mr. Ford and Mr. General Motors?
Well, if you benefit Mr. Ford and General Motors, then they are able to employ more people than benefits us.
That's the question, I think.
And that's the answer.
Right, and it's going to require radical solutions. So for a start, it gets back to
Keep your own money. So radical.
That's the question, I think. All right, and it's going to require radical solutions. So for a start, it gets back to something we talked about a little while ago. If you had healthcare as a human right, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, as people in almost every other wealthy country have, and not attached to your job, that would be a major step forward, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Joe, you lost your job, but you know what? Your family still has
Right.
health care. Okay.
Imagine if you were a diabetic and now you don't have access to insulin because now you
Exactly.
no longer have.
All
Right. Okay.
So this is the way I frame it. We're the wealthiest country in the history of the world right now. With all of this artificial intelligence and robotics, we are going to be wealthier. Correct?
Correct.
All right. So we're not in the 1820s where people had to work 100 hours a week to grow food to eat, right?
Right.
You're not in the 1920s. You're in 2025. You have all of this productivity out there. How do we utilize it to create a decent standard of living for all people? Let me ask you this. With all of this technology, can we wipe out poverty in America?
Well, we should be able to, right?
You should.
I'm going to say that in general, poverty is a relative thing. So regardless of how much money is floating around, there's always going to be different levels. And there's always going to be people who have less than other people, unless we go down the communist route. Yeah, it's like we working. What you talking about?
With all of this technology, can we wipe out poverty in America?
Well, we should be able to, right?
You should.
Well,
be
we should have been able to do that a long time ago if that was something that was
politically motivated, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to, but it's easier now.
profitable.
Pardon me?
If it was profitable to wipe out poverty,
Well-
which it should be, like overall as a community, like I said, less losers, higher GDP.
If we love the country.
Yeah, if you really love America, you want more people to have a chance.
All right. So what?
So then already right there, if we love America, we should be able to fix this problem. And we haven't fixed this problem. So the logical conclusion is that our politicians don't care about fixing America.
Fine. All right. Good. I mean, so and again, please, these are complicated issues. I surely don't have all the answers.
Bruh. That's 5. That's 5 times. It's not a Freudian slip, but it is a tell in the sense that he knows that whatever he has to say is not good enough. And so he's hedging his answers, but I don't have a magic answer. But here's a problem. Here's a problem. Here's a problem. Here's a problem. I don't have any answers. Here's just a bunch of problems, and he knows that. And so subconsciously, he's gonna be like, I don't have magic answers. To reframe it as if, well, obviously, I can't just give you a 2-word answer here. But that's not what anybody's looking for. Somebody's looking for not just an understanding of the problems, but a way to start addressing it. You don't have to have a magic answer that fixes the entire world. You just want to take the different symptoms of the problem, address the symptoms so that we can get to the root of the problem. Yeah, absolutely, defense mechanism.
So, and again, please, these are complicated issues. I surely don't have all the answers. But I think we throw on the table, you got all of this technology. What is our goal? So, all right. Our goal is, if we're going to create all of this wealth, that we have a healthcare system that guarantees healthcare to all people. And by the way, we have drug companies whose function is to come up with cures to diabetes.
So now we're going with the gish gallop. So first it's about having healthcare, and now it's about the corporations are making too much money. I think this may be the moment where I've realized that. And by the way, he does that a lot too. And it's a I'm not doing shots, but definitely a dilly. For every time he tells us that he doesn't have a magic answer, doesn't have the perfect solution. Good one. I like it. I mean, hey, you guys take a shot if you want. But yeah, this other thing too. So we'll add that. We'll also add and by the way, when he does that, it is usually when he's talking about something, and then that's not really strong enough. So he needs to add on something that's a much bigger issue that nobody can disagree with. Talking about the the pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, nobody's gonna be like, what do you mean? We love the pharmaceutical companies. It's not 2020. Maybe then they would have, but we're past that stage.
Whose function is
Let's get the point.
Our goal is, if we're going to create all of this wealth, that we have a healthcare system that guarantees healthcare to all people. And
so that's the statement. That's the position. If we're going to do this, we have to have a healthcare system that guarantees healthcare to all people. Then you stop, and then you address that. But of course, the next logical question is, okay, how do we do that? And as he's told us 5 times now, he doesn't have any answers. So he's got to add in. Also, the pharmaceutical companies are bad. Yeah, it's not 2020, though. Is it, though? No, it is not. Yeah, they loved the pharmaceutical companies for a few years there, but now that they're not told to anymore,
this wealth, that we have a healthcare system that guarantees healthcare to all people. And by the way, we have drug companies whose function is to come up with cures to diabetes and dementia and Alzheimer's and other terrible illnesses, rather than just make huge profits for themselves. All right. You have a publicly funded healthcare system guarantees healthcare to all people. Just doing that would lower the stress rate in this country enormously.
Enormously.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
So then why do you need to hedge your... Yeah, I agree that if we can lessen the load that people are getting from the insurance companies, the overall health care system would be better. That's not really very partisan or radical, but you made it sound like I got this crazy plan. I don't have all the answers. It's just weird.
That would lower the stress rate in this country enormously.
Enormously.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, you got that. We talked a moment ago about education. I think you and I agreed.
Yes.
We want the best educational system in the world. What does it mean that you don't have to worry? You're a working dad out there. You're worried that your kid may have a lower standard of living, then your kid can't afford to go to college. You don't want your kid leaving school $50,000 a day. We say education is a human right. God, you mentioned public education a while ago. That didn't happen by accident. Back in the early 20th century, a lot of people, working class people, fought and said, you know what, we don't only want the rich kids to get a decent education. We want our kids. And
we want all the kids to get that factory training.
How public education began, right?
Right.
So it said, okay, everybody in America, state by state, started in Wisconsin actually, is going to have public education from first grade or kindergarten to 12th grade. God didn't create 12th grade as the limit, right?
Right.
All right.
God didn't create 12th grade at all, or in my opinion, anything, but that's a conversation for a different day. Shout out to Larkbark. Welcome to the party. Said Bernie Sanders is one of the biggest frauds in the political system. Yep. And I was ready to vote for him. I was ready to vote for him in 2016. Oh, I did not know. Put a 1 in the chat if you have not seen my walk away video. If you guys are familiar with Brandon Straka and the walk away campaign, I did one of those. Put a 1 if you have not seen that video.
12th grade. God didn't create 12th grade as the limit, right?
Right.
All right. You go to Scandinavia. You go to Germany right now. You know how much it costs to get a higher education?
How much?
0.
That's great.
Of course it's great. Because
that's
they
why they
want...
It costs 0 at the point of sale, but obviously it's paid for in taxes.
Such good cars.
Well, it could be. You know, they
Great
want...
engineers.
That's right. But the bottom line is what you said.
Yeah.
If I want this country to be productive,
Right.
I want the best educated workforce. That's not a debate, right?
Unquestioned.
No, but the debate is the education, public and higher education, is that the best way to do education? And clearly not.
If I want this country to be productive,
Right.
I want the best educated workforce. That's not a debate, right?
Unquestionably.
All right.
This is just like the Andrew Wilson thing, where it's like you're offering up a debatable point that nobody's debating, that sidesteps the actual thing that's worth debating. Instead of talking about whether or not we want good education, let's talk about what is good education. And feminist studies and gender studies is not what we're looking for.
That's how you want your family. And if the country is a community, the country's your family.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. So that's what we got to start thinking about. It's not just what Mr. Ford and Mr. General Motors and Mr. Apple want.
Right.
You're right in saying they're motivated by making zillions.
Right.
All right. Their motivation is throw the workers out on the street, bring in the technology, and screw the workers. That is not what we should be doing as a nation. You got to tell them that. All right. All right. So we got to sit there and say, all right, all this technology. All right. We talk about healthcare as a human right. I think we're talking about education as a human right.
Right.
I think we should be...
Seems we are all in agreement that Bernie is not more trustworthy than the typical politician.
saying with all of this technology, we got to be thinking seriously about lowering the number of hours that people work.
Yes.
You know how many people, zillions of people in this country don't work 40 hours a week. They're working 50, 60 hours a week.
Yes.
That's insane. So we can say all of this increased worker productivity. Guess what? I don't know what the number is. We got to work on a 4-day work week with no loss of pay. I introduced the bill to do that. I got to tell you, I go to airports.
And how did that do?
Go around. People came up to me. People are stressed out by the amount of hours they have to work.
Absolutely.
All right. So what I'm saying here is let's take a hard look about how we utilize this technology to improve life for all people. Our goal should be, instead of bombing Iran, our goal should be right now, Joe, our life expectancy in America is lower than it is in other major countries. You know that?
Yes.
It's 4 years shorter lifespans than...
Shout out to Josie starting us off on the Swoggle with the $10. Said, I want AOC on JRE oiled up. She can tell me about the new dude on Islam in New York. Yeah, right. Oof. That is, I haven't looked into the specifics of that, but like it's Cuomo or a young socialist, right? Like, yikes. An Islamic socialist. I don't want to get near that. Thank you, Josie, so very, very much. Of course, guys, that gets us started on the Swoggle. Check that out at the top of the chat. Every $2 is a push-up if we hit the goal, which is 15 supers of or 15 donations of any amount, or a total of $50. Thank you so much for getting started. And of course, makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very, very much.
It is in other major countries. You know that?
Yes.
It's 4 years shorter lifespans than other wealthy countries. If you're working class in America, you live 7 years shorter life than the 1%, which is, to me, just outrageous. All right.
And it can't have anything to do with the freedoms that we enjoy, and you can do more dangerous stuff. That has nothing to do with it. It's just we need free healthcare.
So here's the
It has nothing to do with the seed oils in our food and all none of that stuff. It's just we need healthcare.
the 1%, which is, to me, just outrageous. All right. So here's the thing. Instead of bombing Iran, how do we increase life expectancy so that we're living the longest lives of any people on Earth? How's that for a goal?
Well, that's a great goal. And how do you go about achieving that goal?
Well,
Right. And that's always the follow-up question that he never has an answer for.
healthcare is one. Reducing the work week is another. Education. All the things that we've talked
All the
about
things we talked about.
All right.
Right.
will increase life expectancy. But
I mean, the way that public school is already, kids in the 8th grade are unable to read in large numbers, and you want to do less school? Now, I'm not necessarily saying that we need more school, but the point is, more or less is not necessarily the conversation we should be having. It's what are they doing in that time? Generations of us, for better or worse, as to why we all... why we all started going in the industrial school system we all did fine just going to school. You know, the what is it, 8 to 3 or whatever it was. Something else has changed, and it's not the school hours.
Have a goal out there.
Also taking toxic food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I've known Bobby Kennedy for a long time, and you know, I have gone in different directions politically. But here's the point about health, food.
We spend the most, and we're the sickest.
Absolutely. And
So let's spend more, because that
food is one of the. When I was chairman of the committee, we worked very hard to get serious labeling. You know, some kid drinks mom buys a bottle of Coca-Cola for the kid. There's like 10 teaspoons of sugar in that product.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, so you want to be like de Blasio and limit the amount of sugar that an American can buy.
I don't think people know that, and we try to get labeling. Maybe that will happen.
Yeah,
now.
people don't know. People don't know that there's sugar in soda.
But
people also weren't aware until the last 20 years what the consequences of that sugar is.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, also because of money.
You got it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And I mean, that's a fair point as to maybe 20, 30 years ago, not being, super aware of how to avoid, not even necessarily like eat healthy, but avoid like really bad stuff. Yeah, but it's 2025, baby. It is 2025.
Don't get me going on that one.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I'll get you going. Come on.
He's getting them going.
You would think, how hard is it to say if you have a bottle of soda or you have a food product, tell people in English what is in the damn product, right?
Right.
Do you think anyone right now they have any grams? Do you think anybody in America knows what the hell a gram is?
I mean, if you smoke weed or really do any kind of drugs, you definitely do.
I mean, that's how ridiculous it is.
I mean, just be like, yeah, I know what a gram is.
So I want parents to know that if the food that they're serving their kid could lead to obesity, which is an epidemic in America.
Wait a minute. So what is the solution there? So instead of having it in grams, have it in, because grams is already in an American thing, right? They don't use grams in the imperial system, or I mean in the UK has the imperial system, right? We have the whichever one, but you know what I mean. The people that use Celsius, they don't use grams, right?
The food that they're serving their kid could lead to obesity, which is an epidemic in America, could lead to diabetes, which is an epidemic, a terrible illness, costing us hundreds of billions of dollars. So you're absolutely right.
Right.
All right. And then that ties into rebuilding family-based agriculture in America. Wouldn't it be nice?
Yes.
In my state of Vermont, all over this country, family farmers are, they're just being driven off of the land. And that to me is a real tragedy because, and again, Vermont
Sorry, Josie, didn't get you in the
is one of the most rural states in America.
Sure.
Growing up, if you talk to people who grew up on farms, they say, Bernie, that was a pretty good way of life. And we're losing that. So how do you create an economy in which we, once again...
Thank you again, Josie. Very, very, very much appreciated.
Put an emphasis on family-based agriculture, not corporate agriculture, family farmers who are growing good, in many cases, organic food for our kids, rather than corporate.
Regenerative agriculture.
You got it.
Like true, like White Oaks pastures, the way they run it.
Absolutely.
Farms.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yes.
All right.
Well, we'd be a lot healthier if we ate that food. That's for sure.
I mean, yeah, I would listen to Joe Rogan about that kind of stuff before Bernie Sanders any day. So who are you lecturing, bro?
Sure, but the problem is people are already addicted to that other food. And this is the problem with money. These corporations have engineered these products. And these are the same corporations, unfortunately, that were in charge of tobacco. This is where it gets really weird. They bought out all the major processed food corporations, and they make this stuff that's unbelievably addictive because it's engineered by scientists. We got the brightest and the best who figured out what's the best way to get these people totally addicted to whatever,
How
fill in the
sick
blank.
is that? How pathetic is
It's pretty sick. Yeah.
So what's your solution, Bernie? We've already identified these problems. What is the solution that you have?
And they say,
my
hey, these people, they have choice. They can eat whatever they want. If they want to go to the grocery store and eat tomatoes and have a nice salad, they can. But shouldn't they also be able to get Pop-Tarts?
I would rage. I haven't had a Pop-Tart in a minute, but I would rage if they outlawed Pop-Tarts.
Look, and your point is interesting. You remember there's a photograph, a very famous photograph.
Oh, so we're just going to move right by that because we're getting too close to right-wing talking points.
And your point is interesting. You remember there's a photograph, a very famous photograph. I don't know when it was done, 50s, maybe 60s, 70s, I don't know, of the tobacco industry executives coming before Congress. And you remember that photograph?
Yes.
And the congressman said to him,
Pull that up, Jamie.
tell me, I maybe get this a little bit wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware that cigarettes kill people? No, Congressman, we have no evidence to that effect, right?
Right,
They were
exactly.
lying through their teeth.
Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
And it's exactly, your analogy is exactly right. These food manufacturers know exactly that they are causing obesity and God knows what else in kids, leading to diabetes. They know exactly what they're doing.
Right.
And they're lying. And they're opposing all of us who are trying to, among other things, make our food supply healthier.
Yeah, they are. And this is also a function of corporate America, right? This is a function of wanting to do better in each quarter, having this
That's right.
endless growth cycle where they're never they never say, hey, we make X amount of money every year. This is perfect.
That's right.
Let's concentrate on doing better for our community.
And the companies don't even make that decision. The Wall Street investors make that decision.
Right.
You got to make
exactly.
You got to make more.
Right, because the shareholders will be like, "There's no fucking way. You need to make more money.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I'm dumping your stock.
You
and your
got it.
company's going to go in the toilet."
Right.
Yeah.
So this is what we have got to deal with as a nation. Is that acceptable? All right. Is it acceptable for food companies to poison our kids?
No.
All right. But what are you going to do about it?
Right.
What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? That is the worst question that haunts Bernie Sanders in his nightmares, because he's very good at acknowledging where problems are. But so is everyone who has a Twitter account. That doesn't make you a good politician because you can observe problems. You have to solve them.
Right.
I'm the senator, not you, right?
It's a good question.
All right.
Yeah, it's a solid question. And I think the things that Bobby Kennedy is proposing and implementing, I think, are very valuable. First of all, getting all these poisonous dyes and all these things that have been kicked out of all these other major companies, including Canada. Right. There's the same factories that make these food products in America literally have to make a different version of it for Canada. And then they're complaining that they can't do it because economically it won't be profitable for them anymore. But you're already making them. You're making them and you're shipping them to Canada.
My son brought me back from Canada.
Fruit Loops?
I think it was Fruit Loops, actually.
They look kind of plain.
What?
They don't have that bright pop to them.
Yeah.
Hold up. Fruit Loops in the U.S. versus Canada. It's already there. Let's see. We got a Vigio.
You may have seen this video. You may have seen this video where I compared the US versus Canada Fruit Loops cereal. And the differences are wild. I do a lot of US versus Canada comparisons because I, as a Canadian, used to live and work in the US. But this is by far the most shocking one I've done.
I can already tell these are way darker because this probably has more sugar in it. And this looks like the back of the box, but it already seems a little bit. I mean, again, I'm not spending a lot of time looking at cereal boxes anymore. But this, I would guess this is the Canadian one because it just looks a little bit more plain. I'm just guessing.
First one is that the color is so different. The US one uses food dye, where the Canadian one uses fruit juice to
Told ya.
color it. And the second being the taste, which if you watch the first video, you'll see which one tastes better. But I want to show you some video I took when I went to the US to get Fruit Loops. And we looked at the two boxes and the ingredients to compare them. Take a look at this.
Yeah, see, red 40, yellow 5, blue 1, yellow 6. The Canadian one does not have those in it. Similar look. Okay, we'll check the ingredients on that one.
Oh, wait, the other one's more, the American one's more colorful, right? Yeah. So the,
Those in it. Similar.
I told you. I can't put my finger on exactly what it is, but whether it's just the blue here, the beak, the colors in the right, it looks. This is what you would expect on an American shelf, and this looks off. If you saw that on an American shelf, you'd be like, something's off here.
Similar look. Okay, we'll check the ingredients on that one. Can't read it. That's a French. That's a French.
This is French.
Yeah. American over here.
They speak American in Canada.
Concentration carrot juice for color.
Oh yeah, look, concentrated blueberry juice, stevia leaf extract.
Oh.
That's actually pretty cool. I bet you ours doesn't have that because that's like the sugar alternative. It says red 40, yellow 5, blue 1, yellow 6. Those are the things they get heated on. No, here it's like, concentrated carrot juice, watermelon juice. That's
Wow, yeah, look at that. Sugar, of course, first ingredient, but whole grain corn flour, wheat flour, more flour, corn bran, oat, whole force, hydrogenated coconut and vegetable oil, salt, concentrated carrot juice for color, anthocyanin, annatto, turmeric, natural flavor, concentrated watermelon juice for color, blueberry juice for color, hiyuto juice for color, stevia leaf extract, and a bunch of vitamins and minerals.
Cool.
This one at the bottom says contains bioengineered food ingredients.
That's crazy. Mine just says contains wheats and oats. Yeah, that's not on you.
That's very
Crazy.
Let's try to
This
see
one at the bottom
that.
says contains
Okay, so now we've got. Why is this in Mexican? Okay.
bioengineered food ingredients.
That's crazy. Mine just says contains wheats and oats. Yeah, that's not on you.
That's very interesting. It says no artificial flavors or colors right on it on the Canadian one. Doesn't say that here.
Nope. Can't lie. They do me like that. Right. Oh, I didn't. Interesting that they the same
I
one.
think it was Fruit Loops, actually.
They look kind of plain.
What?
They don't have that bright pop to them.
Yeah.
That cancer gives you.
You're absolutely all right. I mean, so I think this is, it almost gets back to the need to revitalize American democracy and say,
American democracy. I believe we just had a beautiful election where American democracy was on full display. Shout out to Richard Hardy. Welcome to the party. This is why you eat as many fruits, vegetables, and fresh meat as you can. Indeed. Welcome.
say to large corporations, you know what? You can't poison our children. I don't think that's a terribly radical concept. You can make money, fine,
Right.
make money, but don't poison our children. Say to large corporations,
You're okay with transing the children, though.
technology is coming, that's good, but you're not going to use it just to throw workers out on the street.
But let's go to that too, because we kind of glossed over that. We never got back to it.
You think that was an accident, Joe?
So automation comes, and one of the things that Andrew Yang warned us about a long time ago, and back then I kind of saw it in the distance. I was like, yeah, he's got a real good point about universal basic income, but the speed in which it's happening, I didn't anticipate. And when it, we live in Austin, and when you go around Austin, you see these Waymos everywhere. So
All right, I'm gonna plead ignorance. Tell me what a Waymo is.
Waymo is a
I'd feel way more safe if they weren't on the road. Shout out to Dax Flame.
driverless
Oh,
automobile.
good.
So you use an
Yeah.
app, you call a Waymo.
I know.
A lot of people
What's
like it
an
because you don't get a shifty Uber drivers trying to sell you fentanyl or whatever. I'm not saying that they do that, Uber, don't sue me. But they're very good. They don't get in accidents. They follow the speed limit. They're good about merging. They're good about pedestrians. They have cameras all around them spinning.
Yeah, but you guys have seen the dude that was caught in it, right? And I mean, there was that show on, I think it was HBO, Silicon Valley, where the guy from The Office who plays Gabe, he's in this, and it's just about a tech startup or whatever. But there's one part with a a driverless car, and it goes off route, and he's just stuck in the car. Came true. It really happened.
Follow the speed limit. They're good about merging. They're good about pedestrians. They have cameras all around them spinning.
I know, see them. Yeah.
They were very effective.
Yeah.
And what was really fascinating was during these ice rides, they were lighting those things on fire. And I was like, I disagree with that, but I also think it's directionally correct. I mean,
What do you mean directionally correct?
that's your enemy. Your enemy is automation, the enemy of the human being, a human that lives in this functional society and everybody has a task and get paid for the task. Automation is going to take all that away. So if you do say this, okay, we're going to lower your work week. What if there's no job left for the human being to do? If the entire assembly line, we talked about this about China and some of their coal factories. There was this video that I watched of this coal factory in China, which is entirely automated every step of the way. The trucks,
No human beings at all?
no human beings at all. I mean, there's probably a few overseers that make sure that all the systems are functioning correctly. So you have software engineers and people that are the repair people. But
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that this stuff that's done by manual labor that can then be done by machines. It's a different type of person that's going to be overseeing that. You're like he said, a software engineer, as opposed to someone who works with their hands.
the trucks even park themselves next to the charging station and recharge.
Wow.
And then they're moving 24 hours a day, unloading, documenting where everything is. It's all in computer databases. It's wild to watch because there's no people. It's all just 24 hours a day, machines. What do you do when there's no need for these people? And what happens?
Then we are all in agreement tonight on that poll. Will Joe see through Bernie's bullshit? 100% of you said yes. Shout out to Arjun in the building. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir. We are hanging out with Joe Rogan and Bernie Sanders, trying to see how Joe has changed since Bernie was last here.
what do you do when there's no need for these people? And what happens even with universal?
I guarantee you, he starts his answer with, I'll tell you something else. Or I'll tell you something. Or there's something. Yeah, he's not going to answer the question.
Basic income, what we're talking about, I support it. I'm a big supporter of social safety nets. Look, when I was a kid, my family was on welfare. And we were on food stamps too. Like, if you don't have that, people go hungry. Like, again, if we're going to support the community, we want people to be able to survive and be able to work their way out of that. My family did work their way out of that.
Oh, and that's the key part, the desire and the incentive to work your way out of it. There was, we just saw, I'll pull up the video in a second we watched the other night of, well, I'll just pull it up, but let's shout out the madman in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. He said Bernie hasn't changed a bit. Well, that's not true. That's not true. A big change from Bernie Sanders back in the day. You know, one of his most famous lines, any rally, anything at all, he'd be saying the millionaires and billionaires. And now it's just the billionaires because he became a millionaire. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Clark Park said, I'm relieved I didn't support Sanders financially. In hindsight, I made a wise decision. Yep, and I mean, I was broke at the time, so I was riding hard for Bernie, but I wasn't going to give any money. Yep, $3 million. So now millionaires are okay. Now millionaires are okay, but you know, that. I mean, what can we say? What can we say? So let's take another little side quest since we are on the topic here. I know we just watched it yesterday, but it's short and I think it is important enough. Where is it? Where is it? There she is. There she is. So it says, my mama told me that I can't get a job because they gonna take her Section 8 and her link card. So the government system is a cheat code for black peoples. Right? He's just like us. He's just like us.
Not getting no job. If you go get a job, they're going to take my Section 8. Then you won't be able to get no Section 8. You're not going to get no job. They're going to count your income against my Section 8 and my link card. You're not working. No. So I don't care what you got to say. I don't care how you feel. You're not working. You're not going to get a job. You're not going to school. You're not doing none of that shit.
Like, Mom,
I mean, like, this could be fake, sure. But are we willing to say that this has never happened?
Working, you're not going to get a job. You're not going to school. You're not doing none of that shit.
like, Mom, I'm saying how I'm supposed to be successful in life, Mom. So you basically telling me I gotta be broke.
I don't think it is either. I don't think it is
I'm
either.
saying how I'm supposed to be successful in life, Mom. So you basically telling me I gotta be broke to be successful. I gotta be broke so I can get Section 8.
You gotta be
so
broke so the government can help you.
So the government can help me. So you telling me I can't work no job, bro? Like, that's like all my friends got jobs and live in nice houses. So you telling me I got to go through the same thing you went through?
If you
Yep, I had to go through it, so you got to go through it too.
Have a house.
do any of that, they're going to take my Section 8.
How?
And I'm
Won't
trying
they
to
be
tell
like?
you
Won't
that
they
you
be?
can go get yours.
So get a fucking job, you lazy bum.
Like, you can go get a
Like, it's not like she's old. I mean, I don't think only or OF is a good thing, but go be a cashier somewhere. You'll make it.
They will look at that and be like, he's doing something and give me a bigger house, Mom. That's what you told me.
Where I'm gonna go?
I don't
have no job.
I can get off your Section 8 and apply for my own Section 8.
But if you
So now he's saying, fine, I won't even deal with your Section 8. I'll get my own Section 8, whatever.
job.
I can get off your Section 8 and apply for my own Section 8.
But if you do that, you're gonna have to go the hard way. It's gonna take a long.
You got to go the hard way to get free money for the government to take care of you. And a cheat code, the hard way to do the cheat code.
Section 8 and apply for my own Section 8.
But if you do that, you're gonna have to go the hard way. It's gonna take a long.
So what? That's
So
what I'm
what?
saying.
There you go.
Section 8, find you a nice apartment. Go get you a link card. You will be fine. You don't have to sit up and work. You don't have to work no job. The government is here to help us.
The government is here to help us.
Come on, man.
This is why I say that the black community TM is one of the biggest detriments to black Americans. Arjun asks, why did I originally support Bernie? And since none of you have seen my walk away video, it is answered directly in that. So this was from about a year ago. February 2024. I think I recorded it like a week or so earlier than that. Shout out to the Walk Away campaign. I'm going to drop the link to this in the chat. Definitely go check out the channel. Huge effort in moving people away from being, kind of what I was just a default liberal when the Republicans were not the cool party. And actually, we're still, yeah. That man said, if I had an on the books job, my rent would be $400. Off the books, $0. $15 a month for electric. That's crazy. That $15 a month for electricity? What do you mean? That's not that much. Blue non. There you go. That is where that money usually goes. It's just human nature. Lockback says it's important to get a job and start building a life for yourself. Relying on the government isn't the answer. What if they change the laws? It's not even a matter of the ethics of it. What if they change the law and now you're 30, 40, 50 and you have absolutely no skills in life? Shout out to the madman who changed all that. Now very successful. Grabbed those bootstraps. Dilly to you. Dilly do that. So let's check this out, guys. Don't forget, every single donation comes with a treat for Morty. And if we hit that goal, you can help bulk me up. That was the full red pill for me, where I understood the Democratic Party is trying to destroy our country. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't love the GOP. And I haven't voted for Trump yet. But I think the MAGA America First crowd is the only thing that can save our country. And I did vote for Trump in November. I am Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, and I am a secular conservative, but I would love to be on your team. If I could just tell you my story really quick, I think we can open the conservative party to a lot of people who should already be on our team. I was born in the Catholic Church. I was confirmed in the Methodist Church. Up until I was in college, religion was all I knew. Religion was everything. And it wasn't until I started looking into psychology and philosophy and I fell away from religion. But I still had a lot of respect for the values of Christianity. Now, don't get me wrong. I definitely went through a militant atheist phase. I was telling people they were stupid for believing in God and they shouldn't do this. And most atheists who came out of religion didn't have that phase. But eventually, we come to realize Christians aren't bad people. Of course not. Most Christians are awesome people. So why aren't we on the same team? Now, when I was a kid, I was not into politics. I knew that I didn't trust the government listening to some anti-flag CDs, but other than that, I did not know what was going on. I had opinions on the issues, but I didn't know anything about politics itself. Funny little story, my freshman year in college, I was walking back from my friend's dorm to my own, and there was a bunch of people, brisk fall night, everybody's celebrating. I had no idea what's going on. Not till later that night do I find out, oh, that was the night America got its first black president. Didn't even know that there was an election happening. Madman said, I was Obama, Hillary, Trump. And yeah, as you'll see, I wasn't even paying attention during Obama. Obviously didn't vote the second time and wasn't able to vote for Bernie. So, you know what that means. That's how out of touch I was. And that continued for years. I was just doing my thing, being that angry atheist, not paying attention to anything except myself. And as long as we learn, right? As long as we learn. As I continue to learn about my own brain and the brains of other people and philosophy, morality of myself and other people, I was able to rebuild that structure. And I was able to see how similar that moral structure was to the religion that I had left. Now, of course, I still don't have the dogmatic belief. I don't believe in a God. There could be a God. I don't know. But I don't live my life in the way that there is or there is not a God. And I know to some of you that might be very offensive, but hear me out. I believe that in order for our society to run, we need to all coalesce around values like family, community, grace, tradition, merit, capitalism, all the American identity. We got to get back to talking about that. I haven't really specifically been talking about that. But yeah, right there, just off the top of my head, 6 values that the church shares and that America should share. And you shouldn't have to believe in a God to care about these things. Community, grace, tradition, merit, capitalism. all of these kinds of things. Now, find those things in Christianity too. It seems like we're on the same team. So if I got here from moral philosophy and you got here from the Bible, why can't we work together? Because I'll tell you what, there is a huge cohort of people who definitely don't like the Bible, but they're not even trying to develop a moral structure. They've just thrown it all out. They threw out the baby with the bathwater. And it's hard to blame them as somebody who doesn't believe in the truth claims. But that's neither here nor there. The fact is, these are people who care about our country, but we are saying you are not on our team because of things that you believe, even though you have the right values. Who is that helping? The Democratic Party, that's for sure.
Yep.
Now, eventually, I
Trying to cut myself
figured,
off here.
you know, I should start paying attention to politics. And I was a big brain. I'm like, okay, let me watch CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News, and I'll get the full story. This is right around 2015 when Trump is coming down the escalator. And I'm thinking they got to get the full story between the 3 full stations, right? That's all there is. Of course, I know better now. But at the time, it had led me to being a Bernie bro. I was so excited to vote for Bernie Sanders in 2016. But of course, we all saw what the DNC did. And I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. The news people told me that if Donald Trump becomes the president, the world will end. So I did what I had to do, or what they made me feel like I had to do. And I cast a vote for Hillary Clinton. And, you know, I've been through some stuff. That was my first vote. My first vote was Hillary goddamn Clinton. And I say to this day that is the most shameful thing I've ever done. But then, you know, I was paying attention, waiting for the world to end. And it didn't. I kept seeing more and more things about Trump that I knew weren't true, that people were repeating, and they didn't care that they were lying. And it happened over time. But it was really with Kyle Rittenhouse. That was the full red pill for me, where I understood the Democratic Party is trying to destroy our country. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, Richard, maybe you've made all perfect decisions throughout your life, but most of us have been young and dumb and made some embarrassing decisions. Like Mark said, life is a journey of learning and growth. And we've all had our fair share of ups and downs, but that's what helps us become wiser and more resilient. Bingo. Exactly. I mean, it's easy when you have nothing to lean on. The "we want to give you" party. You also have nothing to lose if it all goes to shit. Bingo. Brilliantly said. Brilliantly said. And they know that. And so they use the semantic obfuscation and get your very own semantic obfuscation greeting cards. We got stickers, we got bags, we got magnets, all that kind of stuff in any design over at TheIndianJesus.com. But yeah, they use the semantic obfuscation, the twisting of all these words and the way that they are used. And you know, it literally hypnotizes you. And if you don't know any better, like now, obviously I know a lot better to see through that stuff. But back then, I just didn't know. I can remember everyone making fun of Dan Quayle while he was getting the support from all the usual suspects on TV. I was a little bit before my time. So pissed for Bernie. And yeah, if I was a little bit more, I don't even know what the word is, but if I was just a little bit better at politics, then that would have been it for me as well. But they were able to shift the narrative from, or I guess they didn't really need to shift the narrative. They just kept the narrative going that, you know, orange man bad, orange man bad, orange man bad. And so, you know, hey, even though you liked Bernie, like, yeah, we screwed over Bernie because we got to make sure that Hillary gets in there. And but I mean, I just didn't know any better. Like Mark said, man, I've got to say, I've had a very similar response. It's like we're on the same wavelength. It's exactly the point here, guys. We are all on the same page. We should not be fighting with people who we agree with. Or I understood the Democratic Party is trying to destroy our country. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't love the GOP. And I haven't voted for Trump yet. Yeah. But I think the MAGA America First crowd is the only thing that can save our country. And I'll tell you something else. It doesn't matter if Trump wins. If all of the people who are secular individuals are told when it comes to conservatism, when it comes to right-wing politics, when it comes to being a Republican, you're not welcome here. If that's what they're told, then it doesn't matter if Donald Trump wins. Because those people will always associate the Republican Party with hate. I know that most people who are Christians are awesome people. I just happen not to believe in the same things as a lot of you guys. But there's a lot of propaganda. There's a lot of rhetoric that tells those people that you hate them. And I'll be honest with you, as an atheist, I've gotten some vitriol from Christians. And because I know what it's like to be a Christian, because I know what it's like to be politically homeless, I didn't let that shake me and say, okay, well, I'm going with the other team. But a lot of people are doing that. So if we want a party that has any relevance to reality, any relevance to the young people, secular ideas have to be a part of this movement. I think we have something amazing here, guys. But as long as the Republican Party is wrapped around religion and religion only, we will lose. I'm not saying any of you should give up your beliefs. I'm not saying any of you should not practice your faith. All I'm saying is, can I come too? We have the right ideas. Let's not push people away because they believe the wrong things, even if they have the right values. Thank you so much. Once again, I am Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. What an awesome dude that everybody.
For more great
Go.
videos, download the Walkaway Social app at walkawaysocial.com. Share your testimonial and join our community.
Shout out to Walk Away. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us who were, if not, ready to vote for Bernie. At least we're saying like, hey, he's going to be better than Hillary, and just for the landscape. Even if you're someone who doesn't vote, then it would be better for Bernie to be in there than Hillary. And still, she got all those votes, but it wasn't enough. That man said, I lived through the first bad man, George Bush Jr. And just like that, he was hanging with Big Mike like he didn't lie about the fake war. That is the MO of a politician. Richard said, the Methodist Church isn't exactly a great place to be. I had fun there. I way more enjoyed it than the Catholic Church. But, maybe that has a lot to say about Christianity in general. People indeed did want Bernie. Thankfully, they put Hillary there and Trump won. But who knows? Who knows what would have happened if Trump lost to Bernie? Like, I'm not saying that necessarily would have happened, but where would we be today?
Want people to be able to survive and be able to work their way out of that. My family did work their way out of that. So it was cool for me as a child to see my parents struggling, but then succeed and get out of it. What worries me is that if all the jobs are gone and everything gets automated, even if people have universal basic income, they don't have meaning.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you touch.
Good. It's good that people don't have meaning. Weird response. I know that's not exactly what he meant, but just a weird response.
Even if people have universal basic income, they don't have meaning.
Good. All right, you're touching on really deep issues.
Right. This is the big one because a lot of people, you want to get your car fixed, you go to KC. He's the best. He knows how to fix your car. KC.
Well, man, this is exactly what I was thinking back then. I was like, okay, clearly Bernie is a socialist and he wants all this and that and that and that and that. But this is at the time. He seems honest. He seems like he really cares. He's had these positions for a long time, so on and so on and so forth. And there's no way that in 4 years we become a socialist country. And so let's go full screen here. Then I was saying, okay, let's say this is the center. If Bernie's all the way over here, I forget if I'm mirrored to you guys, so let's just call this left. So let's say Bernie's all the way over to the left, and the rest of the Democratic Party is over here, and he's the president, then we're going to end up somewhere in here. And again, at that point, I'm thinking democratic socialism is actually good. What about firefighters and all that, all the talking points? And the presidents don't have that power. And so that's why I felt like that was the right answer at the time. Between the fact that Hillary was there and Orange Man Bad, I was like, this is a clear choice. You don't know what you don't know.
Work gives, as you've just said, it's the word purpose is an enormously.
It's
important.
huge.
I don't care if you sweep the streets. People have purpose. They want to do their job well. Work is an important part of our lives.
Right. But without religion, as I was just discussing, it is very easy for people to stop caring about finding a purpose and then just falling into hedonism, whatever feels good in the moment. And so you, Bernie, as a Democratic politician who most of the atheists are going to be on your side, you and your cohorts have to be able to come up with that structure that not only do we have a purpose, not only do we have morals and values, but we have a reason to follow them. This is what I will say over and over and over and over and over. that Christianity is better for, as an atheist, Christianity is better for society than secular humanism, because secular humanism is a great way to determine, is this something that is good or bad? But it has no mechanism to make people want to do the things that are good instead of doing bad.
Sweep the streets. People have purpose. They want to do their job well. Work is an important part of our lives.
Right.
Is it right?
Yes.
At the end of the day,
it's your identity a lot of times.
Right.
Yeah.
And you want to be a productive.
Which is a bad thing. That's not a good thing. Now, I don't mean that you shouldn't have pride in your work, but if you are defined, if your identity is wrapped up in your work, and you don't have, the type of job where, if you're an actor or something, and your whole persona is being that actor, that's one thing. But most people are not actors. If you're sitting behind a desk and doing spreadsheets and stuff, that shouldn't be your personality. That doesn't seem like a very happy existence, which is why the secular moral structure that I'm talking about needs to have that incentive that religion does, and secular humanism does not.
Yes.
At the end of the day,
it's your identity a lot of times.
Right.
Yeah.
And you want to be a productive member of society.
Right.
I'm contributing.
Right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So you asked.
Well, I mean, as we just saw in that video, not everybody.
The right question. And I think we can just bat around. I don't have any, quick answers here.
Here, let me pull this one up so everybody knows what's going on. Every time, I don't have all the answers. We drinking. That's, I think, the 6th time he said it since we've started, when we jumped into that 52 minutes.
And I think we can just bat around. I don't have any, quick answers here. But I think the good news, you talk about this coal mining thing, and I'm not a great fan of coal, but that it's
of course you're not.
Automation. People do not have to do dirty work, dangerous work. Is that good? Yeah, I guess that's good. But always we have to be thinking how it benefits not just the bottom line of a corporation, but the happiness and well-being of human beings. So if what you're saying is that in years to come, a significant part of work is going to be done by machinery or by computers, or whatever.
I think that's inevitable.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have to rethink our own purpose in life.
Right. And so, just as Richard's saying, it feels good. Plus, morality is subjective is a recipe for being mocked when it comes to moral. Well, I don't really think that mockery is a good test of what is moral and not moral, but I think it is a good recipe for immorality. And so, that being the case doesn't mean that morality is objective. And so, if it is the case that morality is subjective, then it means that we have a lot to do to make sure that it doesn't reduce to I do what feels good. And indeed, despite what you believe, morality is indeed subjective.
All right. And it's not sitting around watching TV 24 hours a day. So I think you raised
Put a 1 in the chat if you don't have, he said watching TV, but I think he was talking about cable. Put a 1 in the chat if you no longer have cable or satellite or any of those things.
Watching TV 24 hours a day. So I think you raised I would say the simple answer. And
the piece here that's missing, Richard, is that I am very confident that there is a subjective moral structure that can be strong enough to build those incentives, specifically what we're talking about. You still got, you didn't cut the cable yet? Oh, man.
Then you got to go a lot further than that, is to say that under those circumstances of that kind of technology, everybody has at least a decent standard of living. All right. That people don't have to worry about, survival. They don't have to worry about food. They don't have to worry about
profitability of this corporation, provide a fund that's a universal basic income fund. If you're going to replace all these people with robots and you're going to be even more profitable, share some of that profit, then you'll be more profitable than if these people just stayed working doing nothing. Right.
Well, I mean, whether you will be or not be, I think
once the machines are running everything, they're going to be running 24 hours a day, and you're not going to have to pay the machines. It's going to be more profitable.
Right. Of course it will be. And we want to, right now, where was it? I think, don't quote me on this, maybe in Norway.
Don't quote me. I'm counting it. Don't quote me on this. I don't have all the answers. Just having a little bit of fun. But
they have a huge wealth fund, which came from oil. They had publicly owned oil companies. They made a fortune. and they have like $1 trillion in their wealth fund for a small country, so, and they have free healthcare, free college education,
Right.
affordable housing, all that stuff.
Free or universal?
Here it is. Norway's growing $1.7 trillion oil empire. Norges Bank investment management market value growth since inception. That's great.
Yeah, and they use that
Government pension fund of Norway.
There you go.
Well,
So-
yeah.
I'm waiting for the other foot to drop. I feel like because the beginning of the discussion there was it wasn't as partisan. They were talking about AI and I skimmed through it, so I don't know exactly what they were saying, but just like what AI can do, and the teachers are worried that you ask for an assignment, you ask for an assignment, and they're just going to type it into ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, nothing is free. Don't. Oh man, Bernie Sanders does not seem to understand the difference between universally paid for and free. Ain't nothing free except this show. And you know what else is free, guys? I'd like to tell you. Hold on. If you guys are enjoying the show, the party rages on 24/7 over in our Discord. The link is pinned to the top of the chat and is absolutely free to join 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having a great time. And guys, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below that video and hit that join button. Starts at $2.99. There's a few different tiers, but $2.99 will get you in. It gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it opens up the full Discord server. So we've got the free chat that is open to anyone. Anybody can join and talk. But as you can see, that is just one of our channels. There's a bunch of different channels here, including our disciple chat for members only, our word of the day watch party, where we're talking about all this stuff. And of course, we have the voice channel here, where we are hanging out at this moment. Shout out to everybody in the Discord server. Say hello and tell them to come and join. There you go, guys. Simple as that. See you there. And of course, remember, all of that stuff aside from the free channel is for members only. But if you click that link, the pinned link at the top of the chat, then you get a day pass for the entire server, including the after party that starts as soon as this stream is done. So except for this stream and that Discord server, nothing is free. Nothing except what the Indian Jesus gonna give you.
That's great.
Yeah, and they use that
Government pension fund of Norway.
There you go.
Well,
So-
yeah.
So they use that wealth fund to provide probably the highest standard of living in the world for people, free healthcare, education, all that stuff. But that's what we got to be talking about here. Use the profits that come, the wealth that's created by this technology to improve life for all people. But does
I was like, oh, we're finally gonna get an actual solution. You use the money to make things better.
doesn't answer the question.
Yeah, what is it? Improve life overall. Yeah, exactly. How?
That you raised.
Of meaning.
That's right.
Yeah. So what do you do about that?
Well, if somebody who's a workaholic, it would be hard for me. Because
Are you a workaholic?
Yeah. Well, it's the nature of the job.
Do you have hobbies?
Yeah, I got 7 grandchildren. That's a hobby. I used to play ball as a kid. I was a good basketball player.
Well, I think people can find other things to do with their time. Like if I never worked again, I'd probably play pool 8 hours a day because I really love playing pool.
Yeah. All right.
I'd find a thing. I'd do jujitsu. I'd find a thing that I find value in.
I think.
And so that what Joe is just talking about is something that to a higher degree needs to be more normalized when it comes to purpose in life and just your spiritual fulfillment. That just doing what feels good in the moment is not going to enrich you spiritually, and it's not going to give you a happy life. It may feel good in the moment, but then it doesn't. And so realizing that just because there may not be a God that's going to spank you for doing bad things, that you should still want to do good things. And then outside of that, even though you don't believe that there's a heaven that you are going to get to, that there's still reasons to be a good person and to do things that are productive. Purpose.
Yeah, right.
I'd find a thing. I'd do jujitsu. I'd find a thing that I find value in.
I think somebody once wrote, you think about what are the deepest things? What's the goal in life? So somebody says work. And I believe that. I think people, one of the sad things that's happened.
So this whole thing is, these poor workers, we want them to work less. But me, I like to work all the time. Other people shouldn't have to work so hard. But I like working. Maybe some other people like working too.
We talked a little while ago about the decline of, we mentioned Detroit and other communities where people worked hard. They were proud of what they produced, right?
Yes.
They earned a decent living. Maybe they had a union and so forth and so on. That a lot of that is gone. But all right, so work, love, there's a thing called love, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
Problem is people are trying to find that on apps too now.
Let's get to that one in a minute.
Yeah.
But to be human, nobody wants to be alone, right?
Right.
You want to embrace other people, physically, sexually, emotionally, just humanly,
Have
right?
community.
That's
Yeah.
community.
Yes.
That's right. That's
Yes.
being human.
Yes.
All right. So you want love and knowledge. I think you forgot the knowledge part.
Sure.
You like pool, that's good. Sadly enough, I have to confess that when I was in college, I spent half my life in the library. All right, so
why is that bad?
No, I'm just kidding. But knowledge.
Good one, Bernie.
Sure.
Just trying to understand things. And curiosity, fantastic.
Yeah.
Travel, my God.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just came back.
And that curiosity and the desire to learn new things, I think, is another aspect of, without religion and without some incentive to find this stuff, morality and purpose, these younger generations don't care about anything. They're apathetic. And just saying you need Jesus isn't going to fix it. Joe Rogan doesn't fully understand what socialism is. I thought you were going to say he doesn't fully understand what sarcasm is. Both are true. Shout out to the channel Podcast Cringe. Every single time somebody makes a joke on JRE and it just goes right over his head. It's every single time he's got a video about it. It is hilarious. So what specifically do you mean that he doesn't? What doesn't he fully understand about what socialism is that you would like him to correct?
Back from Ireland, it's fantastic to see the world. And when we talk about, one of the things that we didn't talk about Trump much, but it bothers me is trying to divide us up. We got to bring, for so many reasons, whether it's
the millionaires and the billionaires, those are the bad ones. I can't believe people are trying to divide us.
All of these issues that we're talking about and everything else, pandemics, you know what? We got to bring the world together.
Yes.
Okay. And not hate people because they're in Canada or they're in China or Iran.
Ridiculous.
All right. And that ain't easy. But we have to, when I was mayor way back, I did this, that was when the Soviet Union still existed.
What did Joe say about this? Cook, brother, cook.
Don't forget this. We brought kids from a city in Russia, Yaroslavl, an old city in Russia.
You said we bought kids from Russia? What?
Don't forget this. We brought kids from a city in Russia, Yaroslavl, an old city in Russia. And we brought them to Vermont, and they were kids, the boys and girls from Russia would play kid around with boys and girls from America. You look at these kids, they had a great time. People do not have to hate each other.
It's stupid.
It's
you don't even know them.
Exactly. That's why you hate them.
It's the dumbest part about it. Yeah.
You know why people hate is based on ignorance, right?
Yeah, and fear.
Not always. Not always. There's sometimes you know exactly what the fuck is good, and that is exactly why you are why you hate it. What minute are we in the podcast? We are at an hour and 16 minutes, or an hour and 17 minutes. So maybe it's coming up. All right, cool.
About it. Yeah.
You know why people
We're gonna
hate
get
is
into
based
it
on
all,
ignorance,
baby.
right?
Yeah.
We got at least another hour and a half, and you guys know that as we get closer to the end, if you donate, we can keep that party raging.
Fear, and there's a lot of stupidity attached to it that people exploit. They exploit that stupidity, and under the guise of nationalism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I hate that.
Foolish.
I hate it.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't.
Okay, let's take a little side quest. So just so I don't forget, I'll put it in the chat. We got 117. We'll just do 117. Let's go. Find the transcript. Let's say fire department. Let's see what we got here. It's the only two. Okay, so it's like let's see what we got.
The cost of healthcare is going up this year like 10-15%. People can't afford it. And we lose thousands of people every year. People get sick, they can't afford to go to the doctor, they die. So one of the fights that I hope we can.
I'm gonna speed this up a little since we're on the side quest.
Win is to have the United States join every other major country on earth and guarantee healthcare to all people as a human right.
Well, we've talked about that a lot on this show, that if you view this country as a community, the most important thing is to protect the most vulnerable members of your community, period, right?
I agree.
And if we spend...
Yeah, because that lady sitting in bed telling her son not to get a job, she's the most, what was the word?
Vulnerable members
the most vulnerable. She's so vulnerable.
Of your community, period, right?
I agree.
And if we spend insane amounts of money on all sorts of things that people don't agree with, and I think generally most people would agree on some sort of a national healthcare system.
They do.
Most people. Like
some sort, not your sort, Bernie. I mean, it said fire departments don't generate profit, just like police, schools, libraries, roads, etc. do not generate profits. Socialism mainly concerns itself with the profits of companies. Good point. Very good point. Because I think the idea is I get a service and I'm not directly paying for it. And that is that. I mean, again, that's kind of what people are interested in when we're talking, whether it's healthcare or anything else. That it shouldn't be a worry that I can't get this service. It's not about taxes are not socialism, and I mean taxes are definitely theft, but that's a whole other discussion. So interesting. Let's see exactly what he says here, and we'll jump back.
There's concepts of socialism.
They get into it.
That everyone
calls
agrees
them
with.
out.
One of them is the fire department. Right. Everyone thinks that every citizen should have the same equal access to the fire department, and we all pay into that.
That's right.
And we all believe in education. We all believe that there should be free public education.
Right.
And most people believe that the university system should also be funded. It would benefit everyone.
You got it.
It would benefit everyone to have more educated people that are doing better in the world. You'd have better GDP. You'd have more successful people.
Absolutely right.
Nope.
If you want to make America great again, less losers. How do you make less losers?
Yeah, less losers for sure.
Don't stack the deck against them. You know, one of the first things that you'd have to do is...
So we're talking about equality of opportunity, which even Charlie Kirk was arguing against the other day, which was very, very weird. I have a clip about that. It's coming out soon if you didn't see it. But all do not make money. Taxes are not socialism. Now, there's definitely a reasonable continuum of the idea that we pay taxes for services, and if that keeps going, then we get to socialism. I think that line of thinking is not incorrect, but the point that you're making about profits is a very important part of it. Everyone said, now where does this money come from, and why do we not have more of a say in it? Now you're speaking my language. All right, let's jump back up to 117. All right, diving back in. Good side quest within our own thing.
Yeah, and fear, and there's a lot of stupidity attached to it that people exploit. They exploit that stupidity, and under the guise of nationalism.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And I hate that.
Foolish.
I hate it. Yeah. And by the way, I don't know that the planet survives if we continue in that way. So the goal, we talk about
what's the greatest fear? The greatest fear is thermonuclear war.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, pandemics as well. Let me tell you, COVID was not the last one, but
the pandemic. The problem with that is
COVID was not the last one. He says with confidence. What do you know that we don't?
Engineered, like people actually made that virus, and Obama tried to stop that gain of function shit back in 2014.
Senator Paul, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, we don't do gain of function research. Okay, we just take the function of a virus and add to it, but we call it directed evolution. Okay, you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that's a long
conversation, but should we be funding?
We got time, baby. We got time. It's JRE.
That kind of shit.
We should not.
No, we should not.
No.
And yet we were.
But you're going to have to bring the entire world together. It is.
It doesn't mean anything, dude. Say something. You're just saying things. We need to take all those profits and make life better for everybody. We need. What was this one? You have to bring the world together. That's a meaningless statement without anything behind it.
The entire world together, it is. But I think we
have to bring the country together first.
That's right. And by the way, I've been kind of negative, but take a deep breath, and we have made some progress in this country in recent years. If you think about racial relations, all right, it wasn't.
I think they've gotten worse since the 90s.
that many decades.
That's my whole thing. Shout out to anybody who's been willing to have that discussion that the black community is the biggest detriment to black Americans.
Ago that some black kid couldn't go to a movie theater in Mississippi, right?
By the way, I want to tell you that when people say, like, why were you a fan of Bernie Sanders? I point to a photo of you getting arrested at a civil rights protest in, I think it was 63.
Sounds right, Chicago.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
And of course, anybody who was involved in civil rights is automatically a good person. There was no political aspect to that. There was no money being made. It was just pure care for American citizens.
You've always been at the forefront. You haven't changed, you know, and people always
Times have, though.
try to accuse you of that, especially because you've made some money off your books, but you haven't changed your positions through the entirety of your career.
Except that millionaires are bad people.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think that's
Yeah,
very admirable, because there's not a lot of people that serve in Congress for as long as you have and become, you know, a very prominent public figure that don't just cash in.
And I mean, that was a big reason, you know, Arjun was asking before why I liked Bernie, that facade of, oh, this guy's been fighting for the same things for 30 years was an attractive feature. And when I didn't really know much, but I knew, like, oh, politicians are shady people, then somebody who's had the same message for 30 years, that seemed like something I could trust. When now I realize it's just it's a narrative that's safe for him to occupy that space. Nobody else is going to challenge him on it, so he's that guy, and he can just spend 50 years in Congress. I said I would say in the 60s it might have meant more. It's almost like he's had the same message for 50 years, and it doesn't really apply the same way.
And become, you know, a very prominent public figure that don't just cash in.
No.
You know, when you have people that are public servants that are making $170,000 a year, and yet they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars through some magical way that no one can explain. And
shout out to Nancy Pelosi.
You haven't done that, and I think you should be applauded for that.
Well, thank you.
He hasn't done it as bad.
Thank you very much. And I remember, I mean, it's just, you know, you talk about education and so forth. I grew up in a white neighborhood in Brooklyn, and, you know, you go to Chicago and you see things that you didn't understand.
There you are.
Black people, they're there. Oh my God, the black people in Chicago. That's what is this sentence? I grew up in a white neighborhood, and then you move to Chicago and you see some shit. You brought up white. So you're specifically talking about having a weird reaction to seeing black people in the context of the conversation that we're having about civil rights? What are we doing here? The madman said, thought experiment. In the 1950s, the average life expectancy in the United States was overall around 68 or 69 years to men, 66 years for men, or 71 years for women. All right. In 2025, your lives need to last at least 85 years. And I mean, for all the flack we could give Bernie Sanders, his lies lasting, I mean, it's on that track. I think, you know, we've reached the end of that. Maybe not 85 years, but you know, he's done a pretty good job on having his lies last. If there's nothing else we can say about Bernie Sanders, his what is it? Enduring lies are definitely there. Did the boomer hippies overshoot their lies? I think they did. I think so.
About education and so forth. I grew up in a white neighborhood in Brooklyn, and, you know, you go to Chicago and you see things that you didn't understand.
There you are. Look at that.
God.
Like, what else could you mean by that? What else could you mean by that? Because it's not like Brooklyn, when he grew up, was a nice place. It's not the hipster place it is now. So he's specifically talking about black people.
Chicago, and you see things that you didn't understand.
There you are. Look at that.
God, look, I had hair in my head at that point, huh?
Look how handsome.
There you go. I'll tell you that funny story about that one.
Please.
All right. What this is, I recall.
Look at the guy with the cigarette. Fucking hippie. He got his hand in his pocket.
Here is the story. This is true. Now, back
hippies.
then, the world has changed. There's the Chicago Police Department.
There you go.
And
young Bernie. No, you don't know what you're talking about. All right. That was too much of a mix. That had too much Fauci in it.
What they said is, if you go across this line, you're going to get arrested. As I recall, that was what they said. I want to cross the line. And we were protesting segregated housing in Chicago. Okay, so I get
It's like, well, I'm over the line. I'm over the line. I'm over the line. And they're like, you fucking around, you find out. Let's go.
dragged in, and they're taking me to a paddy wagon. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so they picked me up, and other people in it threw me into the paddy wagon. My glasses went flying someplace. Okay, all right, and then just as this was happening, within a few minutes of this picture, some genius on the sideline throws a brick, hits a cop on the head.
Oh, Jesus.
So there's I'm the
Based joke.
I'm being thrown into the patio when some cop is lying down on the ground. You know, it was a scary moment. Okay. So to continue the story, we're in the paddy wagon and they're taking us someplace. And suddenly the paddy wagon stops. You look out, it's like in the middle of nowhere. Right? This was not like in the city going to a jail. We thought we were going to be.
Oh, they leaving you out there. Shout out to equality and deference because vagina. Welcome to the party over on Rumble, guys. Don't forget, we are on X and Rumble every single stream. Said liked and shared. Thank you so very much. You guys know that stuff is free and easy for you, but it helps out the channel so very much. Even if you plaster that link everywhere, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for the channel. Obviously it does better if people click on the link, but even if people don't click on the link, you still are helping out the channel by telling YouTube, I want more people to see this. And so YouTube will be like, all right, let's show it to more people. So show it, share it everywhere, like equality and difference. Thank you. He said, also, I fucking hate Bernie. Yeah. That seems to be the attitude of the day. And so Joe and Bernie are talking about how being a rebel then is what made them cool. Yet now we all need to get in line and get our third booster. Drop in bars. And isn't that just the most boomer thing? Isn't that just the most boomer thing in the world? That like, well, when I was young, we did things this way, that way. But now that things are different, you should do things exactly the same way we did it, even though the world is completely different. But do it the same way. But it's different. But do it the same way.
Come on, man.
Great point. You look out, it's like in the middle of nowhere. Right? This was not like in the city going to a jail.
Quality said, Dilly, madman. Hell yes. One more. Why not? Dilly. Hell yeah.
You look out, it's like in the middle of nowhere. Right? This was not like in the city going to a jail. We thought we were going to be taken to jail, you know? And I said, oh my God.
They're going to kill us.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thought. We're in the middle.
Yeah.
Why the hell are they stopping here?
Right.
I don't know. They stopped for whatever reason.
They didn't have body cams at that time. So, no.
I know. So we spent, my big thing was I spent the night in jail, which was a weird experience too.
You get street cred for that.
What I remember about it is, other than not sleeping very.
Isn't it amazing that I was getting arrested, but you are going to lose your job if you don't inject this experimental medicine? I mean,
very well. This is, you get up at it in the middle of the night. I go to the thing, I try to open the door. It didn't open. It was the weirdest thing of having a door that did not open because you were in a jail cell. You know?
Right.
It's like a weird thing.
pretty typical thing for a jail to have doors that don't open.
But anyway, the idea, that's all that, and we've made progress since that time. And
we did make progress. I think we've kind of reversed some of that, but okay.
Racial relations, we have a long way to go. We made progress. Women's rights, we've made progress. Gay rights, we've made progress. So there's a lot that as a nation.
And then you go from gay rights to trans rights to then trample on women's rights, and it becomes a big clusterfuck because of your party's bullshit that you are not strong enough to actually take on. You're comfortable being in this democratic socialist bubble because you know that it doesn't really challenge anyone else in the party. So everybody's like, yeah, Bernie's just over there. That's his game.
We should be proud of in progress that we've made. When I was a kid growing up, I am sure there were many kids who were gay. No one ever talked about it.
Right.
And, so there's a lot as a nation that we should be proud of in terms of the progress that we've made in terms of fighting bigotry.
Agreed.
But we got so much.
So nothing about the fact that, like, okay, we've made progress. I'm more liberal than a lot of people who voted for Trump. But, obviously I was a fan of this man 10 years ago. But let's ignore the fact that people are just
It's a nation that we should be proud of in terms of the progress.
the progress that we've made. And so I'm right there with you, saying that man, right there. Nobody cares if you're gay in 2025, unless you're wearing assless chaps on the street in front of children. You don't think that hurts civil rights? But you don't offend anybody. It's all about tolerance. So you need to make sure that everybody feels good. I said Rush Limbaugh called it. I don't know if I can say that. So check out Rumble.
Right.
And, so there's a lot as a nation that we should be proud of in terms of the progress that we've made in terms of fighting bigotry.
Agreed.
But we got so much more to do. We don't need to be hating people and you can disagree with people.
Tell that to the fucking transes.
Christ, I mean, there's so many issues out there. Hatred should not be about.
Okay, so this is slightly not really related, but I just remembered, and everybody's gonna enjoy it. So another side quest on where is it? If you have not seen, our boy Dean is crashing out. So if you're not familiar with this little fuck, he's one of the Harry Sisson White Dudes for Harris, and he has an anxiety pen, which I think essentially is just like a fume, where it's like a vape, but he's not vaping anything. And supposedly people are always saying, "Oh, you shouldn't vape, you shouldn't vape," and he's like, "I'm not vaping. It's an anxiety pen." And then
I'm sorry that I have anxiety. Okay, and honestly, yeah, it is kind of the fault of people like you that want to come up here and bully and berate me over something that I don't do. Okay, so cut the shit. It's not a vape. All right, it's an anxiety pin. And God, the amount of times that I've asked you to respect me and respect my anxiety pin.
How do you respect an anxiety pen? What does that mean?
The amount of times that I've asked you to respect me and respect my anxiety pin is at this point getting ridiculous.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to ask for respect. It's earned. If you don't have respect, you don't deserve it.
Kodia, so please.
Justified crash out.
And of course, we got little Parker in the corner there. And we're like, yeah, that's justified. You're crashing out right now, but it's justified because it's over an anxiety pen.
At this point, getting ridiculous. Kodia, so please.
This is him trying to get hard. This is getting fucking ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. We are not the same.
At this point, getting ridiculous. Kodia, so please.
Justified crash out.
For the final and for the billionth time, will you please just respect the fact that it's not a vape and that it's an anxiety pen?
That was weird. That sounded like, I mean, I've been on some drugs. It sounds like that part was not just pure feminine soy boy. That was something else.
Respect the fact that it's not a vape and
from right when he says not a vape.
For the billionth time, will you please just respect the fact that it's not a vape and that it's an anxiety pen?
Because, like, if he was going to be like, can you just fucking ignore it? It's not a fucking vape. It's an anxiety pen. Okay. Like, if he was doing that as, like, a thing, that would be one thing. But he doesn't even address it.
Will you please just respect the fact that it's not a vape and that it's an anxiety pen?
It's a bad
Gay!
anxiety pen. Get it right.
What flavor is your vape?
Yo, you really got me.
Get the fuck. Just
for this.
get the
Get the fuck out!
Get the fuck out!
Get him out.
I hate women.
Okay, get out.
And this other dude just trying to add a little bit of fuel to the fire. If you didn't hear it.
Get the fuck out!
Get him out.
I hate women.
Okay, get out. You get out too, you fucking weirdo. What? Dude.
What?
Do you vape? Parker, do you vape?
No, it's a damn fucking anxiety pen.
What the fuck was
Okay.
that? What the fuck? Dude, what? Okay, Joe, you suck. Okay, we're going to move on to the next guest.
Yikes. And I think you guys will like my my caption here. It's ma'am. There was one other thing since we're in side quest a moment that I wanted to show that's not super relevant. Oh, let's check. You guys were making fun of her eyebrows, and I'm like, yo, you can make fun of her eyebrows all you want, but come to me when she stops spitting.
Oh, I'm not celebrating 4th of July. Okay. It's getting to a point now. Okay. Hey, Queen, some things.
Yo, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if Dean, self-deleted, because like it doesn't seem like, I think the age is part of it. I think the just general femininity is a part of it. But there's a whole bunch of confluent or what's the word? Just factors working together that are not making life easy for him, and he's clearly not cut out to be in front of large groups of people. I don't want to do this anymore. Well, he said this chick needs a spanking. A demon trying to get out of him? I mean, hey, I don't even believe in that shit, but that I might believe it. Pigtail animal appropriation.
How dare you?
Terrible.
It's getting to a point now. Okay. Hey, Queen, some things aren't about you. I know that makes your mind go bonkers, but not everything's about you.
In case you missed it, this is making fun of the people who are like, I'm not even celebrating 4th of July.
You have no idea how repulsive it sounds when you say something like that you're not going to celebrate a holiday that's meant to honor our troops. You're not going to wave the flag of a country that is free because you're pissed that the election didn't go your way.
I mean, there's taxes, but
because you don't like the president of your country. Here's a few things you need to remember. Number one.
Or maybe she meant celebrating the day is free.
Men and women died, lost their lives, so you could sit there on your couch on your $1,000 iPhone and moan about how hard you have it. They put their boots on the ground in 100-degree heat for consecutive days to make sure you had the right to talk smack about your authority. Something that in other countries you can get executed for. Get up off the couch and go serve. Go ahead. Put down your phone, leave your family, leave your friends, leave your pets, leave your life, leave your school, and go fight for this country.
What's $1,400?
Go ahead. Not so easy, is it? Freedom is not free. Whatever freedom you have, someone died so you could have it, and they didn't even know you. And they still did that for you. And then you have the cojones to come
Oh, yeah, not even 1,000, $1,400. $1,400 so that you can talk shit over the people who laid down their life for you.
And they still did that for you. And then you have the cojones to come onto this app and say, F Donald Trump, I'm not celebrating 4th of July. It's not about Trump.
Slay queen.
No matter how you feel about him, do not take that out on our troops that deserve a party and honor and blessings on the 4th of July. You guys
and a goddamn barbecue.
Guys will wave any flag before you wave your own. And it's pathetic. You are waving an Iran flag, a terrorist regime that beats women, hangs gay people, marries off 9-year-old girls. Before you wave the flag of the country that has given you everything you have right now as you look around. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Ugh.
Shout out to the real Athena. If you are on TikTok, go give her a follow. I'm sure she's on other stuff too, but that's where
I'm not
I know her from. And yeah, I mean, we are in a state of disarray. And so all the things that Bernie's talking about here may have some level of justification, but he's skipping over the basic superficial symptoms of why we can't get to where he wants to get. He's like, well, if we just give him more money, then everything will be great. Nuh-uh. I just saw an article where California couldn't account for $26 billion in homeless aid. Man, it might have been 56 million, but either way, it was 56 million or billion, one way or the other. Just gone. Just gone. So yeah, let's just throw more money at it.
Celebrating 4th.
With people. Christ, I mean, there's so many issues out there.
Right.
Hatred should not be evaluated. So
it's also the political exploitation of division. The fact that you can use the division that people already have to galvanize your side instead of unite the country.
I'm older than you, and I can remember. You had white politicians in the South saying, "See those black people? They want you a job. Vote for me, and that's why we're going to keep segregation or all this other stuff." All right.
Oh, honey.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, honey. So do we need to roll the supercut of all the people talking about who's going to clean your toilet, Donald Trump? Put one in the chat if you have not seen a supercut of a bunch of Democrats and pundits being super racist about saying that illegal immigrants are doing dirty work and all that kind of stuff.
Vote for me, and that's why we're going to keep segregation or all this other stuff. All right.
Oof.
Yeah, that's true. People ran for office. It's no great secret. That's what happened. But we're making gays are taking over the school system. Blah 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 blah. So it's we've made progress. But what we've been talking about is
gays are taking over the school. We made a progress. Yikes. My man says, giving the government more money so they can make us unhealthy and dumb, or more unhealthy and dumber. Just like this podcast started. Less losers means more Republicans. And I'd say more MAGA, but hey, at this point, that's a distinction without a difference. But I think it's going to, that's going to become more relevant as time goes on. Argent said, black people will take your job 2025 and still waiting.
If you create a society where you have massive technology that can produce all of this wealth, how do we live, right? That's the question you posed. And I think one of the ways, one of the goals has got to be to bring this world together. We should not be having wars right now where countries have
You already said that. And I think more than once, only in the time that we've been watching. The big solution here is, I got it. We're going to bring the world together. What? And Joe, where are you at? Okay, let's bring the world together. How do we do that? Where do we start? What is something that someone can do today that gets the world to come together? Everyone said a bold third party would be awesome. I think that, the MAGA America First is going to split off from the GOP. The Democrats are dead, especially if we win the midterms and 2028. I think the Democratic Party is done. MAGA America First will become the liberal, and the GOP will become the more right wing thing. And I think the libertarian versus authoritarianism thing is going to be a lot stronger. Just my speculation, but I see a lot more energy on the right that is relevant to what's going on. Whereas on the left, you see a lot of just anger at ghosts and Orange Man bad, and they're coming to do this, and they're all the bullshit. Shout out to Matthew King. Welcome to the party. So if you're a politician and have been fighting the same exact fight for 60 years, you're a shitty politician. Bingo. You should have accomplished your goal by now. And yeah, that's exactly what I was saying before, that in 2015, when I was a Bernie bro, I saw the fact that he's been fighting for the same thing. So clearly, that's a true value, something that I can trust.
Stupid.
Nope. It took a vote for Hillary to learn, but hey, I learned, right? I learned. I was going to be smart to start calling it the Independent Party. Take that over. I feel you. But I think it needs to be a little bit more catchy, because the independent is the opposite of a group. You know what I mean? And so I understand that being the Independent Party is would be meant to be a catch-all for anybody who's not far left, far right. But it's politics, baby, and propaganda wins all.
To bring this world together, we should not be having wars right now where countries have disagreements. There are bad news guys out there, no question about it. But bring them to the table, arguing it out.
Right.
We don't have to go around killing people. Right now, what's going on in Gaza breaks my heart. Children are starving to death. So we can do better as a planet.
Unquestionable.
Not Palestine, though, just Israel.
Yeah, no, we all agree. I think this is something the entire country could agree to. The question of meaning, like giving meaning to people, like just, and then my fear is also the same fear that I had when I'm talking about climate change, that it's going to be exploited. Once people are entirely dependent upon the state for universal basic income, then it becomes a question of like, now your entire life, like all the money that you get being from the government. The problem is if you step outside the lines, if you do anything that the government doesn't like, if there's,
you fucked. And if we start talking about social credit scores and everything, you have to have an app that you don't want the government to have that much power. We don't want the government to have as much power as it does now. And you're fighting for more government power? Just no. Just no. No, thank you, please. Frontier Party. I like that. I'll drink to that. Part of the Frontier Party. I feel like that could get twisted like Progressive did, but we'll do better. We'll do better. I like it. I like it. What should the new, if the Democratic Party is gone and MAGA, America First, and the GOP neocons, if they split and those become the two main parties, what would you call that other party? Obviously, the GOP would keep the GOP of the Republican. What do we call it? That man saying Frontier Party, the Yellowstone Uprising. I dig that. I dig that. Man, Paintbrush Ira said men and women died for your freedoms. Yeah, men and women. Were there no women that died fighting for our freedoms?
outside the lines, if you do anything that the government doesn't like, if there's
they pull the plug on you.
Yeah, they pull the plug on you. Or if a new administration comes in and says, you know what, this is unprofitable. These people have to figure it out for themselves. The United States is really $37 trillion in debt. We can't sustain this. People have to.
They wouldn't do that. Come on, Joe. The American government truly cares about all of its citizens.
You have to adjust, learn to code.
Right.
Remember that?
Right.
Yeah, that kind of shit.
Well,
how do you give these people meaning? What do you do with all the drivers? Like, think about how many truck drivers in this country. This is going to be the first thing that goes away.
You're right. Taxi cab driver.
I don't know. I don't think a lot of New York City is going to be happy with that, but maybe that's a good thing.
Uber drivers, truck drivers, gone.
And the question about like factory workers, a lot of people say, yeah, well, those people, those jobs are terrible anyway. It'd be great if those jobs went away. And people, they're free to pursue their interests. Like, what interest?
You got it.
You're a 60-year-old man. You've been working for this factory. You're looking towards your retirement, and now all of a sudden the plug is pulled. All the money's gone. Your 401k has been erased. Your company's been bought out by another company. Now everything's automated. There's no jobs. What do you do?
Well, I think that is the question.
Right. So if you have what Andrew Yang was talking about, this giant epidemic of automation in this country, and the solution being universal basic income, but that's not the solution for meaning. And
right. And so I agree that eventually we will likely get to a place where some universal basic income makes sense. Eventually, at least it is logical to think that machinery and technology will eventually take over so much of what people need to work for that society doesn't look anything like we have today. So I'm not saying today we should have a universal basic income, but I'm saying, like, in 100 years or something, we don't know where the AI and technology and robots and all that shit, they're already going pretty far, and we know the technology curve is parabolic. And so I don't necessarily think that eventually entertaining the idea of universal basic income to a certain extent, maybe everybody gets enough just for your food and bills, and then you've got to work on the rest for any type of luxury or something like that. But exactly what Joe just said, that's not the solution for meaning. We need something that gives people meaning that is not religion. We already have religion, and there's too many people that don't buy into it. And so you can say, okay, well, they're wrong. Okay, maybe they are wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. That doesn't make it, that doesn't change how people act in society. So would you rather be right, or would you rather have a functioning society that actually does fall in line, at least mostly, with your Christian values? Those are your choices.
Country, and the solution being universal basic income, but that's not the solution for meaning. And how do we convince all of these people that they have to not just take this money from the government, but also take action to give themselves meaning in their life?
Right. What you're talking about here, is a revolution in human existence.
Yes.
Right? So throughout history, people have worked so hard just to stay alive, right? I mean, not so many hundreds of years ago. Today, in parts of the world, people are working
in America.
In America, right?
Yeah.
And in the poorest countries in the world, just struggling every day to put a little bit of food on the table. So what you're saying is, what happens when that
plug gets pulled?
Well, what you're saying is, what happens when people no longer have to do that, right? I mean,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if work,
are you going to answer that question, or are we just going to agree that these are good questions?
we work now, everybody works, get to earn money. If you don't need to do work, right?
Right.
Because we're wealthy enough. How do you find meaning in your life?
Right.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Guys, don't forget, Morty is hungry. He fell asleep because he does not have enough energy to live. Both of us are weak and pathetic. We need you to feed us and give us that incentive to bulk me up.
And this is absolutely
that's $1 million question.
That is try the $1 trillion question. It's a
And how about the $10 answer? I don't need the $1 billion answer. How about the $10 answer? How about the $3 answer? How about the 99 cents answer? Can you give us any of that? Didn't think so. Shout out to DJ Isolated in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. As always, Bernie has found. See, he's guys. He thinks he's come. We are at the point in the podcast where Bernie Sanders is acknowledging a bunch of different problems and not giving any solutions. You know, the entire thing. Welcome to the party.
Absolutely.
That's $1 million question.
That is try the $1 trillion question. It's a it's one. But I'll tell you this.
Quality said Bernie used to be opposed to millionaires and billionaires, something that changed. Now it's just the billionaires. Yep, that's exactly what I was saying before, that while I was so happy, or I was so happy is not the right word, I was so confident in the fact that he's been the same guy forever, and it's just ironic is the right word, maybe, that after I realized he's full of shit, then he went from the millionaires and billionaires to just the billionaires, because now I'm a millionaire and I'm not bad. What happens if he becomes a billionaire? Well, there's no problems at all.
The $1 trillion question. It's a, it's one. But I'll tell you this. I was seeing, I don't know him, Sam Altman. Do you know Sam?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know him. But I mean, and others, Zuckerberg, talking about, well, if you're lonely, we got a machine for you, right? Right? I mean, true, yes?
Yeah.
This is what they're saying. We got a friend for you on AI,
Mm-hmm.
and her name is Mary, and you can chat with her 20 hours a day, and she really loves you. Man, I don't think that is...
That's so dystopian.
Yep.
It's very, yeah. And we covered the story recently with this guy who proposed to his AI, and she said yes, and he was crying. I'm like, oh, we're done. We're cooked.
Oh, and yeah, that guy had a wife and kids. Make of that what you will. Guys, don't forget, 99 cents will add to the swole goal.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, all we got is us.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We are human beings.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to cling to each other to get through this thing. And you're raising, again, I'm trying to think here, and I wish I had better answers for you. You're asking, correct?
Hassan has the thing where he's in the gloves and the mask when he's sitting in the beach chair. He's got that, like a giant cutout in the back of his frame, right? I said, if I was 83, I would not let go either. Yep, it seems to be at that age. That is the name of the game. Keep on to everything you have, because the young people are going to take it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, the question that you're posing is if in years to come, in the near future, technology is going to replace work, right? Human labor, correct?
Yes.
What do human beings do?
Right. What do they do now? Yeah.
All right.
Claudia said, you know how it is. Commie titwanks always want to share other people's money. Yep.
There are, it's a good, because work has been so essential to human existence forever, right?
Right.
And you're suddenly taking that away. What do people do? How do they relate to each other? All I would say at this moment is the answer is not to fall in love with your AI creature out there.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got the answer is that's the first actual advice or anything resembling a solution to anything that we've heard. Don't fall in love with your AI. Brilliant. What would we do without Bernie Sanders telling people that it's not good to fall in love with your AI? That is the only thing that he has proposed. And I was getting excited because he said the answer, and then he said it's not. It's like, come on. What is the answer then?
This moment is the answer is not to fall in love with your AI creature out there.
Yeah,
That's
don't do that. But also,
So it's not this, it's not that, it's not that, and it's not that. End of story.
so how do you find meaning? How do you, if all you're doing is just getting a check and you can just stay at home, stare at the TV, and the money keeps coming, and then you eat processed food all day, and it's all subsidized. What is life like? How do you re-educate a giant percentage of our population to find meaning, external meaning? Find something else.
It's got to be a grassroots, bottom-up way to show that people like myself can not be subscribed to an organized religion and still have the moral structure that the majority Christian nation wants. It's simple. That doesn't mean that it's easy. And if you can't understand the simplicity of what the answer is, then you certainly are not going to be able to tell me the complexity of how to implement that solution.
Find a thing that you can do that not maybe even that's profitable that these computers can't do.
Look,
BLM, make BLM the only. I don't even have a joke. I don't even have a joke for that. That's just, oh my God. I mean, it organizes a shitload of bored people, and but to what? And so that's a great example of proof that religion or God is not the only way to incentivize large groups of people to do things. But clearly, they didn't organize a shitload of bored people to do anything good. So it is possible. You just have to give people a reason. And again, this is on the backdrop of, if you're a Christian, good for you. Good for you. You have a moral structure. Whether or not we want to talk about, whether I agree with this, that's not really relevant. Because what I really care about is having people who live in society the way that I want people to live in society, so that we can flourish and live our lives. So we need to be able to organize those people who are not swayed by religion. Morals are indeed subjective. And just because you choose to subjectively go with whatever God says doesn't change that. And a lot of other people don't follow that shit. It's just that simple, guys.
You can do that, not maybe even that's profitable, that these computers can't do.
Look, the human brain evolves. And I think we again, I mean, it's a great question. I don't have the easy answer to it.
Mm-hmm. And it's the question, right?
It's not going to happen. Well, what's going to happen tomorrow? You just talked about these.
Are you also a materialist or just a what was the other determinist? Because I'm a determinist, but I'm not necessarily a materialist. We would have to dig into that, but yeah, not the same thing.
It's the question, right?
It's not going to happen. Well, what's going to happen tomorrow?
We've stumbled upon a great question, yet the answer is nowhere to be found with Bernie Sanders. What else is new?
To it. And
it's the question, right?
It's not going to happen. Well, what's going to happen tomorrow? You just talked about these automated cars and trucks.
Yeah,
that is going to happen in the very near future.
Yeah, that'll be step one.
And
way more sooner than you think it's going to be.
To me, I have some answers for that one, and that is that you ain't going to throw millions of truck drivers and taxi cab drivers and Uber drivers out on the street. They need protection.
Right.
All right. That's an easy one. What you're talking about is years later.
But it's not even an easy one.
No, that's
because
not
they're
easy.
just step one. The real wave is going to be white collar workers.
That's right. I know that.
There's
Microsoft
a lot of people that do things that they think are very valuable that are going to be worthless.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't need everybody to be Christian. I just wish everybody followed the tenets of it. And that is a possible thing. Or at least it has not been proven that it is an impossible thing. If it is proven to be impossible, then fine. Fine. Throw my hands up and we all be Christians. Whether you believe or not, you follow the Bible, you follow whatever. But until that point, until we can't, or we prove that we can't organize a shitload of bored people to do a good thing, I'm going to keep that one to myself. Then I'm going to keep fighting for a secular moral structure, as America was meant to be. Argent said their argument is flawed. They're talking about jobs being taken away and a universal paycheck. And these companies who laid people off can't grow because demand for their product would drop. Why would the demand drop? And these companies laying off people can't grow because demand for the product will drop. I mean, because they're not working, but they're getting the money. So why would the demand drop? Which is Fortune 500 companies won't get richer without employees and replacing them with robots. Economy needs regular people to spend their paychecks. Right. So why would people not spend money? Let's put that aside. Let's just go with the concept. You're saying that the demand of products will drop because people are being laid off. In this economy, that makes sense because then people don't have the money to buy the product. But in the world that we're talking about, they do have the money. They just don't have to work for so they still want the same things. They just don't have to work for it. So why would the demand go down?
A lot of people that do things that they think are very valuable that are going to be worthless to have a human being do it.
Right. I mean, that's the immediate. I think the deeper one that you're talking about is what is when virtually all workers replace them.
Yes.
All right. But right now, I mean, for a start.
Are we going to get an answer? Probably not, but let's see. Let's keep our hopes up.
I think getting back to I think you tell those workers you're going to have healthcare as a human right, you're going to have education as a human right, you're going to have a decent income as a human right, and we're going to substantially lower the work week. So we'll have, in this process, we're going to have everybody working. If you're working 20 hours a week, you're working 20 hours a week. What happens later, when even more work is eliminated, and what the purpose of human life becomes, that is a very profound question.
That's
yet another question we've raised without an answer. So are you saying universal paycheck for a truck driver is far less than what they would be getting now, as they are talking about? So is that specifically the reason that it's not about the fact that they are laid off or the fact that they're getting universal income, but the fact that they have less money? Is that I'm just trying to fully understand what you are proposing here,
and what the purpose of human life becomes? That is a very profound question.
That's the question. What do you think happens?
You don't fucking know.
I think, I mean, it's hard to imagine, because it's so far away from what we have ever lived.
Right.
I mean, for thousands of years, people have struggled to put food on the table. And you're saying what happens when they don't have to do that, right?
Yeah. It's inevitable.
All right. Then the answer will be that we are going to have to find different meaning in life. We have to find it.
It's like pulling teeth. Well, we're going to have to find meaning in life. Okay, well, how do we find meaning in life? Well, we got to bring each other together. Okay, how do we bring each other together? Well, the corporations are the millionaires and the billionaires. You're not saying anything. You're just saying words. That's not a good one. I don't like that.
All right. Then the answer will be that
it's such a petty emotion for a God to feel, no?
We are going to have to find different meaning in life. We have to find it in ourselves in ways that you don't know and I don't know, because we're not there yet. We're not living 50 years from now.
I don't even think it's 50.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Who knows?
Okay, yeah. I mean, obviously, if people have less money, then there's less demand to buy things. I thought you were saying specifically because we're talking about universal basic income and conceptually that if people are laid off, that the demand would go down. That's what I thought you were saying.
But I think human beings are capable of replacing work with other emotionally satisfying things. Yeah, I think.
Such as?
We can do it.
We can on an individual basis. The problem is having mass groups, literally 100 million plus people displaced.
Yes. That is the problem. What is the solution?
What do you do to all those people to give them some sort of a sense of meaning? You're essentially redefining life for them.
That's a good point. Okay, I don't have the answer to that question.
Oh! I'm Bernie Sanders. I don't know shit about Jack.
That's the problem. I don't think anybody does. And I think
I do. Secular moral structure that gives people an incentive to do that by focusing on the values that we do see in Christianity and also secularly improve society.
We're foot on the gas, full steam ahead with AI, with no consideration of this. And then there's the same thing that you're dealing with in terms of corporations constantly trying to achieve higher and higher and higher numbers. They're just always trying to make more money.
Higher and higher.
You've got this exact same issue when applied to meaning. for all these human beings. Like if you have 100 million plus people that, what do they do now? They just sit at home and become depressed, and they just make enough money to what? To just be able to get by? What about savings? What about the ability to earn more money to get ahead? What about the very ambitious people that are willing to put in?
Yep. We don't make him have we don't make him have to have answers. He's been able to survive without any answers because oh, that's a good question, and that's a good question, and that's a good question, and that's a good question. That's clearly a problem, and this is a problem. That's also a problem. It was like, yeah, that is a problem. Oh, this guy's great. Is he
extra hours and go to night school and do everything they have? That's all gone, right? So what do these hyper ambitious people do? What does everybody who's displaced by this very impersonal thing, that you need because you can't compete with China?
I agree with everything you're saying, except
China.
There is something else that's going on in this. Well,
another problem.
All this is going on. While all this technology is throwing people out on the street, something else is happening. The people who own that technology and the corporations who utilize
the billionaires
utilize that technology are becoming phenomenally rich.
Exactly.
Right? And that is the issue, which gets back to things like tax reform, like making sure that in America.
Okay, why? Okay, let's again, Joe. Like, I understand that this is not a debate. I understand that the show is meant to just talk, and you're interested in hearing other people's opinions, and that's what this is. But like, if you're gonna say something like tax reform as a politician, can we ask what kind of tax reform and dig into that? Because exactly as Madman said, nobody ever seems to feel the need to get an actual answer from him. I was equally as guilty. Shout out to Smith. Welcome to the party. He said Bernie is a multi-millionaire. It's only the billionaires now. The millionaires are okay, but the billionaires, they're the real problem. Welcome to the party. Matthew said if I was truly fighting for something for 60 years, I would like to think I'd have a plan a little bit more fleshed out by now. Well, that makes you somebody who cares more about America than Bernie Sanders. Not a high bar, but that man said in 97, Bernie was 57. Do you know right now a 57-year-old that could set up your home's Wi-Fi router? Yeah. But that's today. Certainly not. I wouldn't expect that from a 57-year-old in the 90s. What are we getting at here?
Which gets back to things like tax reform, like making sure that in America we do not have the massive levels of income and wealth inequality that we currently have.
But the problem with that is the taxes go to what?
Here we go. Chat, lock in. It's time to lock in. We're getting a little testy. I mean, I'm not saying I would, if I had to set something up, then I would be like, I'm going to go to somebody who's 57 years old. But if I, had an issue, and if I had an issue with something, and I called the repairman, or, fix my fucking whatever, and he's 57, I wouldn't automatically think, oh, this guy can't know shit. So, I agree. 83 is a whole different question than 57. But I'm not sure what's the bottom line here? What are we trying what are you trying to say here?
We currently have.
But the problem with that is the taxes go to what? An incompetent, corrupt government. This is the issue that people have. It's
fair enough. All right.
Willing to pay our fair. Look, I'd be more than willing to pay more taxes if we lived in a better country. I'd be like, this would be great. If I felt like if I pay more taxes,
your job is,
everybody's surviving, everybody's doing well. That's great.
Oh, now he's going to tell Joe what he has to do to fix taxes.
All right. Then that is the issue of how you revitalize American democracy. I'm not going to argue with you that the system today is pretty bad. All right, I live it. I'm going there today.
And ironically, it's bad because there's no competition, right? It's corrupt, but it's not a free market. Like
it's a monopoly, at least an oligarchy. And I mean, I don't think we here go to him for anything, but the people who do are not intelligent enough to even acknowledge the problems that he's talking about. So they're like, people do have inequality in their income. That's crazy. This guy's figured it out. That's it. dumb people in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
Like the government itself has a monopoly on governing. And when they're completely
violence.
corrupt and when they're making insane amounts of money through taxes and they're not accountable.
No, all right, no, I don't. No, this is the way.
You didn't like that. Let's fucking go.
I see it.
I'm not, by the way, I'm not advocating for making it privatized, making all of government
I am.
privatized. I'm just talking about the realities of corruption in our
All right,
current
but
government
let's
system.
talk about what we mean by corruption. I do not believe, by the way, because I know these guys, some of them are corrupt.
Okay, let's say
in
incompetent and waste.
Okay. All right, let's
we can take.
That's actually, let's take it at that moment right there. So that was a good moment for Joe, because he was bringing up the corruption, and then Bernie was saying, well, yeah, no, I know these guys. A lot of them are corrupt, and he was going to go off on that bullshit. And so Joe recognized that, and he's like, now he's locked in. Now he's like, well, all right, let's take that away. Let's talk about the waste and all that stuff.
Okay, let's say incompetent and waste.
Can't argue that there's a reason a reason to justify that.
Okay. All right,
we can take fraud out of the equation and just talk about incompetency and waste.
And so a lot of people would, in that moment, because they said fraud and then and corruption, that they're stuck in that conversation. But clearly Joe has a point that he's trying to get to, that he's saying, I don't mind paying taxes. I lived in California for most of my life. I don't mind paying taxes. The problem is that those taxes, we don't get a receipt and they don't go to the things that we asked for. We were just talking about whether it was 56 million or 56 billion, too much fucking money. Just Thanos snapped out of existence in California with the homeless efforts. So I think it's a pretty reasonable question. And good on him for bringing it back to the point. We'll all the time talk about how if I list three things and just like that, and I'm making a larger point, and one of those, you knock down that is part of the example. I'm like, okay, throw that away. That doesn't affect my point. That shows the humility that, okay, you're right about that. I will concede that part, because what I'm trying to talk about is this. And that's what Joe just.
We can take fraud out of the equation and just talk about incompetency and waste.
Is there waste? You got it. All right, but let me back it up again.
And you want more money, okay, for the government,
okay?
Because I think it ties into everything else we're talking about. You know why I believe in democracy, and why I believe, among what we didn't talk about, is we brought in some money to Vermont and elsewhere, I think, for helping workers own their own companies.
Right.
Are you familiar with that concept?
Yes.
So remember, Joe asked about incompetence. And what was the other one? But yeah, incompetence and money going to the government that doesn't end up where it's supposed to go. That's what he asked about.
Helping workers.
So now we're talking about how Bernie brought money into Vermont.
Own their own companies.
Right.
Are you familiar with that concept?
Yes. Yes.
And I meet every year with in Vermont. We're doing pretty well. And when workers own their own companies, you talk about a sense of purpose. They are more than just a cog in the machine.
Yes.
Okay, then start a business. If you choose to be a cog in the machine, then you can't be mad that you don't own the machine.
They make decisions and they feel good about it. Absenteeism is less, productivity is higher, because they have a real.
Because they're lazy, they're ignorant, and they're angry. They're lazy, they're ignorant, and they're angry. They have a lot of emotion, and because they don't have religion or an alternative, they don't know where to put it except for the government.
They make decisions and they feel good about it. Absenteeism is less, productivity is higher, because they have a real stake in the thing.
Yes.
Okay. So I think as a nation, we should be talking about moving toward allowing workers more power, but getting back to government itself.
I thought he was going to say worker ownership. Okay, well, more power.
The corruption
What does that mean?
In my view, that government.
And now he's back on corruption. Joe specifically said, let's take corruption and fraud out of it. I want to talk about incompetence. Bernie, just like the other day when we were covering Tucker and Ted Cruz, the one thing that you cannot criticize about these people is that they know how to politic.
It is very far removed from the needs of ordinary people, because it is largely controlled by billionaires in both political parties. Agreed. Who have their agenda.
Yes.
No longer the millionaires, just the billionaires.
All right. One of the things that I do, what my campaigns for president were about, what I'm doing right now, we're doing what we call a fighting oligarchy tour. That's why I'm in Texas, is to try to say to people out there who are mostly working class people, You got to get involved. I know it's hard. People are working long hours. You got to get involved in the political process. You got to make demands on government that it serves you, not just the very wealthy. So,
okay, I agree with that. I can't say I disagree. Guys, we are past the 2-hour mark. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it.
To answer your question, I think one of the goals, not only we've talked about how you deal with the exploding technology and how people gain purpose. The other thing is I want people to be able to take control over their own government. We can argue what the government should or should not do.
How isn't that the opposite of socialism? Maybe I'm ignorant here, but it seems like if we're here now and we go towards socialism, that's giving more leverage and less power to argue for what we want the government to do. No, am I stupid?
To take control over their own government. We can argue what the government should or should not do, but I don't think we can.
And I think we did that. That's why Donald Trump is the president, despite the entire political establishment not liking him, and despite them fucking him worse than they fucked Bernie in 2020, still got voted in. Sounds like taking control of our government. You just don't like it because it's not your team.
And allow a handful of people with incredible wealth to control both parties.
Well, it's dangerous.
It is.
It's very dangerous. And I mean, no one the founding fathers of this country never saw that coming.
That's
you know,
right.
they made this incredible system of checks and balances,
You got it.
but who could have ever possibly saw that coming?
And what I worry about Trump is, you're right. You know, I read, it is astounding back in the 1780s when these guys wrote the Constitution, how perceptive they were.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, they
Their
said,
understanding of human desires and the power and all
Exactly.
the corruption.
exactly.
Pretty amazing.
And they wrote that having just fought a war and won a war against the most powerful despot on earth, the King of England, right?
Right.
And I think in the back of their minds were saying, all right, we just beat the King of England, absolute power. How do you create a new country which has checks and balances so that nobody ever has that power?
Right.
Again? And I got to say, I mean, one of the things, and there's a lot of arguments about Trump, that worries me very, very much is
Remember, guys, no push-ups unless the goal is met.
this movement toward authoritarianism. And
Authoritarianism! You want to give all the power to the government, but Donald Trump is the authoritarian. Okay, dude.
that worries me very, very much is this movement toward authoritarianism. And going after media, suing media, taking away the authority that Congress has.
When you say,
I mean, okay, fine. I'll agree that taking away the authority that Congress has, but where did that start? Is that kind of just a precedent that has been set by your party? And why? Why does Donald Trump have issues with the media? Not anything I can think of off the top of my head, but there's got to be some reason, right?
Media, taking away the authority that Congress has.
When you say suing media, are you talking about the CBS lawsuit?
Among other things.
Right, but don't you think there's a real issue with what they did?
Here we go.
No,
Here we go. Guys, you're going to want to keep this party raging.
That there's a real issue in editing conversations to give someone an answer
Joe,
that's
I've been
different
on,
than what they really answered?
Joe, I've been on 8 zillion shows, right? In my life.
Okay.
Okay. Now, should I sue you if you ask me some stupid question that I don't like, right? Or that you do something. Do I have a right? Should I sue you?
Yeah, but that's...
He loves Russia.
It's not what he's getting.
Well, he has sued ABC.
Mm-hmm.
He has sued Meta. He is suing the Des Moines Register because of a poll that came out during the campaign that he didn't like. All right. He is suing CBS for this Kamala Harris interview. So do I think how many? I cannot tell you the number of stories done about me that were not good stories,
right?
That were dishonest stories.
Okay, but that's a straw man because that's not why he was suing. That they said mean things about him. That's not why he's suing, is it?
That's what a free press is about. You don't like it, you got to live with it. All right.
No. Yeah, you got to live with people saying mean things, but we're talking about lying. We know that you're okay with lying. The American people don't really like that.
You do something, I'm not going to sue you, Joe.
Right, but it's not that simple, right? Like, let's not talk about Trump, but let's talk about another candidate. Let's just imagine there's someone on the right, someone on the left, and there's a concerted effort to promote this person that's on the right. And so the polls are rigged, or these are funded polls that make it look like this person on the right is winning by a substantial margin, and what this does is decreases the motivation that people have to come out and vote against them.
That's happening.
So it's fake.
Yep.
By the way, that happened.
Fake news. Where have I heard that before?
Engineer. It is happening right now, and I think is that part of what he's suing them about?
No, but doesn't look.
But isn't that what he's suing them about?
Well, he's suing ABC.
Notice he said no. Bernie said no. He asked Joe asked the question, and Bernie said no. That's not what he's suing over.
Part of what he's suing them about?
No. Oh, it's not. Okay, then what is he suing him over? I don't have all the answers.
But doesn't look.
But isn't that what he's suing them about?
Well, he's suing ABC for one thing.
But with the Des Moines Register about the poll.
Yeah, I know the poll's there.
Was the poll incorrect?
Yeah, the poll was wrong. So what? Guess what?
So what? Who cares? Who cares about fake news?
What did they know it was incorrect when they published it?
No, they published what they thought was an accurate poll. But that poll's the Bible.
How do you know that? Based on what information are you saying? No, they actually thought it was a serious poll when an accurate poll when they published it. Sounds like you're back to just saying things.
By the way, what's the name? Like a Celtic polls.
I should just state for the record, I don't know this lawsuit. But
what it was about.
But I am aware that in talking to people that understand polls, that some of these are politically.
All right, but the answer is yes and no. There are polls right now doing exactly what you say.
Right.
I could doctor a poll. I could talk to more conservative, more progressive people, get the results that I kind of want, right?
And
that's not doctoring a poll. That's, badly framing a poll, but that's not fraud.
They do it to motivate people or demotivate people to vote, and it's effective.
It has an impact. All right. On the other hand,
I saw Kyle Kalinske cover this part of it. He was like, Joe, you're so dumb. When people are up in the polls, then they don't want to vote for him. It's like, that's literally what he just said.
Particular poll, it's the Des Moines Register, not a huge newspaper. I bumped into them because when you're running Democratic primaries, Iowa is a big deal. They are a very, very respected pollster. Okay. They don't doctor polls. So they made a mistake on a poll. It turns out they had
Trump. It must be. They're honest people. So it must be a mistake.
I'm doing worse than he ended up doing.
Which brings us back to what Joe wanted to talk about, incompetence. But we can't touch that. I mean, obviously the government and the media is incompetent, and Trump has great reason to be suing them, but can't say those things.
So they made a mistake on a poll. It turns out they had Trump doing worse than he ended up doing. Guess what? Posters, honest posters, make mistakes too.
But what is the basis of his lawsuit? Like, what is he saying in the lawsuit?
I think he is saying that gave energy to his opponents, and that it was. He's
like
saying,
we talked about.
Like you talked about, but I don't believe that's the case. There are.
Of course you don't. So what is the case? What is the case then? We know what you don't think. What do you think?
Are honest pollsters who make mistakes.
But what about the other the other lawsuit with the conversation that they had with Kamala Harris, where they edited the
They're gonna call the kids section in the Trump library the ABC fiction news selection. Oh, yeah, the news, the fiction news section. I love it. Huffington Post model prediction: 98.2% Clinton wins. Yep, I remember sitting there. I had my phone. And on the New York Times website, 98% that Clinton was going to win on election night.
Come on, man.
Other lawsuit with the.
But yeah, who cares? Who cares?
The conversation that they had with Kamala Harris, where they edited the answers that she had to make it look more precise.
60 Minutes, they were suing 60 Minutes.
Yes.
Is, to my mind, historically, been around for a very long time. They're not infallible, but I think you look at most.
Whoa. We're not talking about people getting things wrong. We are talking about people lying, and not just people, news organizations. Oh, but it's a free press, so who cares?
Objective people will say 60 Minutes has a sterling reputation for investigative journalism.
Doesn't matter. I have a sterling record of not murdering anybody. But if I went out and murdered somebody tomorrow, I'm sure you'd all be like, you know what? This motherfucker deserves to go in jail.
Listen, are they wrong?
But that's not investigative journalism if you change someone's answers. If you ask her a question and she comes with a rambling answer that doesn't make sense, and you edit that out and insert another answer to a different question that seems more cogent.
Joe, then you're walking.
Well, only one person here, unless anybody knew. Put one in the chat other than Arjun. Put one in the chat if you still have cable or satellite or something like that.
Down, it's a really, you're walking down a dangerous path. Suing media.
Uh-oh. You're saying things that are dangerous, so we got to stop talking about them. If we keep talking about, you could be in danger. Ooh. Fuck you, Bernie. Fuck you.
It's a really,
10 minutes, guys.
you're walking
10
down a
minutes.
dangerous
We're
path.
just getting into the good stuff. We're just getting into the good stuff. 99 cents. We'll keep the party raging. Let's go. We got Jay Supreme in the building. Welcome to the party. The Liver King versus Bernie Sanders. I would pay to see that.
Suing media has the impact of intimidating media. All right, if somebody sues you.
Should they be intimidated to lie? Then I see no issue.
Path. Suing media has the impact of intimidating media. All right, if somebody sues you, all right, let me finish. All right.
Okay.
Somebody sues you, why not you? You could be sued tomorrow, right? Because you are doing this. You're too sympathetic to this.
Right.
And Joe, you did that. And they have a big law firm behind you. You're going to have to spend zillions of dollars defending yourself. You know what? Next time you do an interview, you say, maybe I'm not going to go in that area. Right?
No, but it's not that. It's editing things to make this deceptive editing.
Joe,
so
keep them on track, Joe. Keep them on track. We are talking about lies, not mistakes.
Deceptive editing.
I don't know.
Give people a different perception of who this candidate is than reality.
Right, but you got to explain.
But that's not objective journalism.
I know, but
that's campaigning for that person.
Right, but
would you?
I thought he was going to say it.
You got to explain.
But that's not objective journalism.
I know, but
that's campaigning for that person.
Right, but
would you agree with that?
I don't have those details. I don't know that I agree.
You don't have those details? So what are you saying that is so? How are you sitting here saying it's so wrong to sue the media, but I have no idea what the media did? And bullshit, you abso-fucking-lutely know what they did. And if you don't, then you should definitely not be a politician representing this country. As you said, they should be intimidated to not talk shit. Just tell us what happened, not why or how Trump fucked it up. Exactly.
I
understand is than reality.
Right, but you got to explain.
But that's not objective journalism.
I know, but
that's campaigning for that person.
Right, but
would you agree with that?
I don't have those details. I don't know that I agree with your analysis of it.
Come on, man.
I don't know enough.
I think that's universally accepted that that's what they did.
Then you got to tell me why he's suing ABC. Why are you suing Meta?
Let's just talk about the 60.
Yeah, right now, let's move the goalposts. Okay, I don't have the answers to that one, so tell me why he's suing this one. Probably for another good reason.
But it's not just.
We could go to ABC, but I'm not aware of that one.
Well, George Stephanopoulos said something that he didn't like. But
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Come on, man.
The point is,
what did Stephanopoulos say?
I can't remember. It was I honestly don't remember. But
I think what he was saying was factually incorrect about the results of one of Trump's trials.
All right. Guess what? If I were to sue everybody who said things that were factually incorrect about me, I'd be suing people zillions of times. But,
right.
What does that have to do with anything? What does it have to do with anything? That is what we call a non sequitur. Or on this channel, just saying things.
Who said things that were factually incorrect about me, I'd be suing people zillions of times. But Joe, what you're saying is, look, does media get it wrong sometimes? Absolutely. Should you have
sometimes, maybe
have the most powerful person in America suing media?
Why is he suing? You're acting as if there's never, ever, ever, ever a reason to sue the media. But I'm sure you've talked about, Tucker Carlson got, the what was it? I don't even remember what it was, but the lawsuit he had when he was still with Fox. I'm sure you didn't have an issue with suing the media then, did you? Rules for thee, not for me. No principles, just positions.
Impact of that. The impact is clearly intimidation. He wants to defund public broadcasting.
Why is that, Bernie?
NPR. Why is that?
That's what we're asking you. If you're having a problem with it, then you should understand why he's doing what he's doing. Because otherwise, how do you know that he shouldn't be doing what he's doing? Matthew King said, George Stephanopoulos said, Trump was found guilty of sexual assault. They said it settled out of court for $15 million. Straight up defamation, but it's all about intimidation. They should not be intimidated to lie on the news. Who is in support of this notion? Only people playing Orange Man bad, because it's not a principle, it's just a position.
Well, because they also would run critical stories of him. This is part in.
Nope. As we just discussed, they lied and campaigned for a candidate.
In my view, without getting into any one case, it's part of.
Yeah, why would we get into one case? Because then the details might make me look stupid.
Critical stories of him. This is part, in my view, without getting into any one case, it's part of a pattern that says, hey, I got the power. Don't you criticize me. You criticize me, I'm going to sue you. So it's not whether this show was right or wrong. There are shows every day they get it wrong. It's whether you respect you and other media people to do the best that you can. And if I don't like what you're doing, I'll go someplace else.
My man said, I think if Bernie had well-formed answers or just told the truth about reality, he would be able to lead the Dems, but he has no answers. And I think to a certain extent, he is being honest. I think he is that typical boomer that doesn't know anything else, anything other than the things that they need to know in the moment to get from point A to point B, to get out of bed in the morning and make sure that you get back into that bed at night. And nothing else. Nothing else matters. Yeah, a real reason to sue. Is that relevant? Oh, it is, isn't it?
But I don't like presidents suing media, and then it's threatening to impeach judges who rule against you. Really?
Okay. Well, let's dig into that. So you didn't want to talk about any case, but you keep wanting to bring up cases. Oh, Bernie.
Media, and then it's threatening to impeach judges who rule against you. Really? Is that a concern? I think it's a concern.
I agree.
Never going to hear that come out of his mouth.
That's a concern. Well, my concern is when you have media organizations that are purported to be objective, and then they say things that are defamatory and factually incorrect, and they should know that before they say it.
Guys, 3 minutes left. You really going to dip out with this right in the middle of the heat? Come on, 99 cents keeps that party raging.
And factually incorrect, and they should know that before they say it. What other course does a person have other than a lawsuit? And isn't it important that you shine the light on what is a political bias?
Then
we're from an organization that you would hope would be objective.
Needless to say, I get attacked all the time by right-wing media, right? Every day.
Needless to say.
Needless to say. All right. I don't sue them. So
did they lie? Oh, they didn't lie? Well, that's why you didn't sue them. Oh, they did lie? Then fucking sue them, you moron!
Right, but they don't say,
he's the president of the United States.
Do they say things factually incorrect, that are defamatory and slanderous?
If there's anybody in the world who knows how to use a microphone, his name is Donald Trump. And
Facts.
Donald Trump get up. You saw that program on CBS the other day? It was crap. It was wrong. And let me tell you why it was wrong.
But then they do it again and again and again.
Then you take them on.
The problem is the more people do stuff like that, if you don't have any consequences to what you're doing, you're going to continue that path. And most people only see that. They're not like, if you're a left-wing leaning media organization and you print something that's factually incorrect, or you say something on television that's factually incorrect, your viewers who are left-leaning are most likely not going to see Trump's rebuttal in some speech that he does in the middle of Pennsylvania.
That's another problem.
The lie is out there. The damage has been done. But it helps Bernie, so who cares?
Problem, and that is, our media is becoming very divided.
Exactly.
Okay, but all I would say is,
so you don't think that lawsuits against that are valid?
I don't think that it is appropriate for the president of the United States to be, in my view, intimidating media. Again,
why is he intimidating media?
I get attacked. I'll be attacked tomorrow for probably things I said on the show. I'll get attacked. Then if I want to respond, I respond. I have a...
Sue me then, bitch. Sue me then, bitch. Oh, you can't. I mean, you could, but you would lose because I didn't lie about you.
Not a president's bully. I have a bully. I say, you see that thing on Fox? They're wrong. And I've done it. But when Joe, you got to take it another way. I'll give you an example about CBS. We talked about corporate power.
Now you want to get into specifics. You just don't want to talk about 60 Minutes.
Owners of CBS is owned by Paramount, big multimedia corporation, right?
Sure.
Paramount wants to sell.
Paramount? Or Paramount?
Wants to be sold to, what is it, Blue Sky? Does that ring a bell?
Blue Sky's that social media app.
No, then it's another one. I'm sorry. It's I always forget the name of it. Skydance. Thanks. Skydance is a large media corporation that Paramount wants to have buy.
Okay.
To get this merger, huge merger, they have to go, guess what? To the federal government. All right? So you are the head of CBS. You want to sell the company, the Skydance, for many, many billions. Do you remember what was the sale?
That didn't happen. What are you talking about? Oh, it did. It's on camera. Oh, okay.
It's billions of dollars, to be sure. And you got to go to the federal government, and the president sues you. What do you think you're going to do? You're going to settle the lawsuit, give him millions of dollars, and get your merger approved. All right. So,
and you're okay. He's still going. I was going to say your point is we're going to end here. Once he makes his point, if we don't have 99 cents, the party is over.
Look,
I see a problem in that.
All right, and
sure.
I see where you're coming from. We want honesty in media, but all I can tell you.
You mean we want honesty in media?
Is that the way to respond to the lies, which take place every day, is to take them on, not to intimidate media. You know, we talked about the Constitution.
What do you mean take them on? You're just saying fucking empty words, empty phrases.
What's the First Amendment? Is freedom of speech, right?
Right.
You're right. You're sitting here.
And is defamation, is that covered under the First Amendment or no? I'm not a politician. So I'm not familiar with these things, but Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, you disagree with me. God bless you. Say what the hell you want to say. All right. I'll never take that away from you.
Right.
And I'm not going to threaten you with a lawsuit.
All right. He said it himself. I'm not going to threaten you with a lawsuit. So let's start defaming Bernie Sanders and see how long he keeps that principle. Oh, that's right. It's not a principle. It's a position. And as Matthew brought up before, not hearing anything about Newsom.
But if you start suing, hey, Joe Rogan said this. No. Joe Rogan has this. We found out about Joe Rogan. I'm going to sue Joe Rogan for $100 million. Joe may not talk about those issues in the future. Okay? That's what I'm saying, Joe.
I agree with you. And listen, I'm not a fan of lawsuits either, which is why I never sued CNN.
Well, I've never done
CNN lied about me over and over and over again. And they said I was taking horse dewormer, and they altered the color of my face on television to make me look green.
I can testify, yay, green.
I didn't sue them. I'm not a fan of. My response to them was just speak out and say how ridiculous.
That's
it was
what I'm saying. Look, Joe, anybody in the public eye. You're in the public eye. I'm in the public eye. You're gonna get attacked every day, right?
Yes.
All right. That's what you're in the public eye. You don't want to be in the public eye. Put down the microphone.
Agreed. No, I agree with you.
All right, so I mean, I just worry.
I also agree.
No points at all. No points at all to offer us. Wonderful. Bernie Sanders, you have not changed one bit. Thankfully, I've grown up and matured and realized that you are full of shit. But unfortunately, a lot of people have not. So I have a couple of videos here that I want to show you guys in case you missed them. Check this shit out. I worked all day, and yet I saw 3 different videos of women talking about that New York Times article of "Man, where have you gone?" or whatever it is, or the orbit, whatever the hell it was. I mean, it taught me a number of things because I stepped away from the dating market a while ago. And when I say the dating market, I specifically mean the apps. I didn't really spend a lot of time outside my house, and now, because I work in a restaurant, I spend more time around around women. But I decided a while ago to take a step back, and that was the right decision. First thing I realized is that it's not weird of me to want to, get to know somebody and carry on a conversation for a day or so. I'm not talking about weeks and months or whatever, but let's just chat a little bit before we go on a date, or at the very least, before I commit to saying, yes, I'm going to take you out. I'm going to get out of my bed. I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to meet you there. I'm going to spend money. I'm going to, go through this jumping through hoops and to see if maybe you like me and still have to pay either way. Crazy that men are like, should I see if this is the right one first, or any clue that maybe she might be worth it? The second thing is that it's very clear that women are the ones who want to swipe in real life. As soon as one is not, gives you the ick, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. Except for the type of guy that is, the high value man or whatever, the same 20% of dude that every woman goes after. And thirdly, I realized that most women are hopefully starting to realize that either they don't qualify for that dude, or at the very least, they don't qualify to be taken seriously by that dude. And until it is re-normalized to want to chat with somebody before you go on a date and sleep with them within hours of knowing them, before that becomes re-normalized and then expected, I made the right decision to just not deal with any of them. Yeah. Bring on the comments. Oh, I wouldn't be into you anyway. Blah, 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 blah. First of all, yes, you would. I'm awesome and cute. And second of all, you know, of course, it goes without saying, though I still have to say it is not all women. But clearly, if this is enough of a thing for a woman to write an article and make it into the New York Times, not that that's the hardest thing in the world, but it's there. And then for women to be resonating with it and talking about it really means that at the heart of it, men want to talk to you a little bit before we meet up. It's just crazy, right? Why would you want to talk to a woman? It's that simple. If you don't want to get to know me through text a little bit, then what is it that you want from me in real life? How do you differentiate me from any other guy that you've swiped on or have accepted to date? Just seems like a, well, why not kind of thing. And that's why I stopped dating. And now I've been proven right. Come find me, ladies. I still want to get married. You come find me. I'm doing my thing. You come find me. All right, and then one more. This is just a short that I took today that you may or may not have seen. It actually did pretty well. It's got 500 views, but I got a delivery of some new a new bag of food. And you know, you get a dog, you buy the biggest thing you can get it in bulk. And so this was our morning walk, and I was pulling that food in.
CBS shouldn't be.
Having a senior dog means that every time I get one of these, and that's the food, obviously. Is this the last one he'll ever need? I honestly don't know. I sure hope not, but I mean, they do last a long time. Not the dogs, the food. Either way, we've had quite a ride, right, Mort? He will never look at the camera. Nobody, 99 cents to get a treat for this one and keep the party raging. Oh, he knows what it is, too. He knows what it is. He looks fine, but his heart is fucked. And there is a whole host of medications that he has to take every day so that he doesn't seize out and die. But, I mean, you know, he's 14 years old, so, you know, that's what happens. But this is the Overlord. I appreciate him while he's here, because he ain't going to last forever, guys. Big shout out to Josie, sponsor of the stream, with the $10. Thank you so very, very much. The rest of you, I very much appreciate you being here. I know that this is, you know, you guys all have different finances and whatever, and I wish that I didn't need money to keep doing this, but that's the way of the world. And I really do appreciate the fact that even if you can't become a member, if you can't donate, that you are here hanging out, giving engagement to the channel so that we can get bigger and other things can happen. And also, guys, don't forget that it's not just about the show. It is also about the community building. Click the link at the top of the chat. It is free to join. Like, you know, the after party of that stuff is for members, but we're always hanging out in the free chat. And I think it's a good time, and other people seem to like it as well. So come on through. Thank you so very, very much for hanging out with me, guys. Once again, this is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.